starts with you.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Happy Tuesday, February the 24th, 2026. Glad you're here. Appreciate you being here because we know you got many choices to make every single day. And we're always grateful that you choose to spend some time with us. So thank you very, very much. For those of you that are on the East Coast, especially Southern New England, up to the coast of Maine, down into the Mid-Atlantic states, hope the guys are doing okay because I saw some of the footage and man, oh man, I saw some Hingham, which is on the coast of Massachusetts. I saw, waves coming up over the tops of some of the houses there. It was nuts. So hopefully you took warnings from your local officials and hopefully you're still safe. I know there's power outages, millions of people potentially with power outages. So please just be cautious and careful, do what you do and just pay attention because, don't fuck with Mother Nature. We should have learned that lesson a long time ago. Again, thank you for being here. We appreciate you. Please consider joining our team. If you've not done that yet, there's a gifting goal today. Please participate in that. Helps us with the FYP. Tapping is clapping. Liking is loving. Sharing is caring. Head on over to the link tree that's in my bio. You'll find the link to the Facts HQ, which is factsstillmatter.site. Whole bunch of brand new merch in the store. We are also still raising money for the Do Something Tour. We $2,392 yesterday as we march towards 25K. If you want to support the channel, there's a few ways to do that. You can either donate directly at Factsstillmatter, all the various apps. You can pick up some merch. You can do whatever you feel that you'd like to do to help support us in our endeavors to get out onto the road, so to speak. The plan will likely be some occasional stops throughout the Northeast. I'll head to Maine. I'll go to New Hampshire. Yes, I will. I'll be in parts of New England. I'll be taking some trips to other places, and the tour itself will start in earnest, likely later in the summer. We're just a little bit behind in our fundraising. We're still looking for sponsors, so we'll keep you updated on that. But thank you. Excuse me. Also, while you're in the Discord, or actually while you're in the link tree, please find the link to the Discord. If for some reason it doesn't work, you can either copy the URL, post it in a browser. It will open, assuming you have Discord installed on your device, or reach out to one of our amazing moderators, and they can help you as well. So thank you, everybody, for being here. We appreciate you. So it is the State of the Union tonight. Now, I've gone back and forth on this. I know a lot of creators are streaming it. I don't think we will, only because, my gut tells me to watch because I want to be there in support of survivors who will be represented. There'll be Epstein survivors there tonight. And I would like to watch in honor of them, but I don't know what to do. Quite frankly, I still haven't made up my mind. I've contemplated counter programming, but I think I'll just let whatever happens. If I decide to jump on later, I may join another panel. I'm not sure, but the point is that it's something we would expect to see tonight. There'll just be more lies. There'll just be more rhetoric. There'll just be more nonsensical bullshit. And it's interesting because some controversy has come out of the State of the Union tonight involving the hockey team. I'm not sure if you heard this, but we know by now that Kash Patel has basically lied. The FBI's lied about the reasons why he was there. I found this creator, and I'm gonna give them some credit because I like the video that she did. See if I can get her name here. Her name is Sarah_Wiles. I found her on Instagram, and I like the way that she broke this down. So let's just cut to the chase. She calls herself a Southern hockey mom. And I just like her, I like her take on this. So I'll just give her the credit, and here you go.
The U.S. men's hockey team from a hockey fan married to a lifelong player raising a son in travel hockey. No one is surprised that FBI Director Kash Patel showed up in your locker room after your big win. Congratulations, by the way. And of course, no one is surprised that Donald Trump called you and made a joke at the expense of the gold medal winning U.S. women's hockey team. Are we sad that those two represent the type of men leading our country? No, of course. But are we surprised by their behavior? Of course not. Because we already knew exactly what kind of men they are. But we're disappointed in you. You chose to let Kash Patel in and chugged a bunch of beers with him instead of distancing yourself. You took the president's phone call and then laughed about the joke about inviting the women. The women, as in the most dominant program in U.S. hockey history. Yeah, the U.S. women have won 3 gold medals, and so have you. In fact, they've medaled in every single Olympics since women's hockey was introduced in 1998. So yeah, they have as many gold medals as you do, but they've actually done it in a quarter of the time. So historically, they're the most consistent and dominant program of the two. And yet somehow, you get the majority of the headlines. You get the spotlight and the cultural relevance relevance, and the lucrative brand deals. Imagine joking about the team that set the fucking standard. Is that insecurity? Or are you just so used to centering yourselves you didn't even clock it? Now I'm speaking directly to Jack and Quinn Hughes. Your mother is Ellen Weinberg Hughes. As you know, she's a silver medalist and also a former U.S. women's national team hockey player. Presumably, she's a woman who's been fighting gender inequity her entire life. She's also a woman who coached the very U.S. women's national hockey program that you laughed at. Your own mother. How many of you have mothers, daughters? Do you know that there are little girls in the stands at every game wearing your name on their jerseys? Because that's who you're laughing at. You know, we don't call it men's hockey. We just call it hockey. And that's because women had to fight to even be allowed in the room that you inherited. Y'all had a moment to elevate the culture, to show the next generation, including my son, that hockey can be better than the stereotype. Instead, you co-signed that punchline. Do better, because the women already did.
Yeah, their mother. Her name is Sarah_Wiles, and no notes. By the way, day 67 of the Trump administration breaking the law in releasing all the Trump files. You know, the U.S. women's hockey team graciously declined. They didn't have to. They could have just said, fuck you, we're not going. But it is an interesting contradiction, or I'm not even sure how I would describe it. But we have Kash Patel, the FBI director, who's part of the cover-up protecting predators, in the locker room for the U.S. men's hockey team. And here we are, right? They've been invited to the State of the Union tonight. There was that moment in the phone call where the president said, well, I guess I have to invite the women's team too. The women's team, by the way, the United States women's team, Canada being the most dominant U.S. Women's hockey team in the world, they've won the most medals. But the United States women have won just as many as the men in a shorter amount of time. They would be the ones that should have gotten the first invitation because they're the ones that won the medal first. But no, not in our country. Nope, not in our country. So they are now being criticized for not accepting the invitation. Okay, good for them. Good for them. I think what this does, it just emphasizes what we discuss here in this space every single fucking day, right? About how women are just so completely disrespected in our society, and how, you know, something like this, we should all be celebrating. You know, the fact that it was one of the most incredible hockey games I've ever seen, period. Like, amazing game, like absolutely amazing game. And instead, they're like a back page story because what? Because they didn't show up, because they're not coming tonight to be around a bunch of people who are fucking predators and or protecting predators. So good for them, though. We'll continue to watch that story because I just think it's one of those things. Right? It's one of those things that we just see every single day. I do want to address a couple of things, though, that in regards to this evening, because as I mentioned, there'll be numerous survivors there tonight. So I found the list. We're going to talk historically about the history of the State of the Union in general, because I do think it's interesting. I think, you know, our job here is to educate folks. So let me see if I can find that. I just did this whole little breakdown. Hang on one second. Everybody keep tapping and sharing, please. Appreciate you. Where is it? Right here. All right. So there are some honorees tonight. Members of both chambers of the House and the Senate, they get an opportunity to invite certain guests. Well, tonight, as we just discussed, the men's hockey team will be there. U.S. women's hockey team declined. The crew of NASA's Artemis II lunar mission will be there, invited by Bitch Boy. We're going to talk about Bitch Boy because, Bitch Boy, I've got some questions for you, you little bitch. I've got some serious questions for you. I'm going to play some sound. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. Family of Virginia Roberts Dufresne, Sky and Amanda Roberts are invited as guests by representatives who want to spotlight issues and justice around trafficking. House Democrats invited survivors of Jeffrey Epstein's abuse. Several members of Congress are bringing survivors as their guests to draw attention to transparency and accountability issues. First Lady is bringing Sierra Burns, an advocate for foster youth, and Everest Nevaramont, a young podcaster and technology advocate reflecting priorities on foster care and education. Massachusetts teen detained by ICE, invited by Congressman Seth Moulton. Vice President J.D. Vance and House Speaker Mike Johnson will be seated behind the president. Of course, members of Congress, cabinet secretaries, Supreme Court justices, military leaders, and diplomats also traditionally attend. It'll be interesting to see the, typically speaking, the brass, the military brass, whether it be the Joint Chiefs or whomever, and the SCOTUS don't react because they're supposed to be apolitical by definition, right? So they're supposed to sit there and not react. We've seen Justice Alito kind of react in the past about certain things. So again, literally, they could be insulted by the president, which I wouldn't be surprised if he attempts to throw some shade at people who stood up for democracy. But they're not supposed to react typically. So I guess we'll see that. All right, just a little historical significance, just the history of the State of the Union. I just think it's important. The requirement comes from Article 2, Section 3 of the Constitution. The president shall, from time to time, give to Congress information of the State of the Union. It does not require a speech. It does not require it to be annual, and it does not require it to be delivered in person. George Washington delivered the first State of the Union on January the 8th, 1790 in New York City. He delivered it in person before Congress. John Adams followed the same model. In the written area from 1801 to 1913, in 1801, Thomas Jefferson decided the speech felt too monarch-like. Instead, he sent a written message to Congress. Clerks read it aloud, and then this became standard practice for nearly 100 years. Presidents during this time used written reports, often detailed policy documents rather than rhetorical speeches. In 1913, Woodrow Wilson revived the practice of delivering the message in person because he believed that direct engagement would help push legislative priorities. It strengthened the presidency's public leadership role. After Wilson, the in-person speech gradually became the norm. From the 1920s to the 1960s, referred to as the broadcast era, radio broadcasts began in the 1920s. Calvin Coolidge delivered the first radio broadcast of State of the Union in 1923. Calvin Coolidge from Vermont, by the way. Harry S. Truman delivered the first televised State of the Union, or so too, in 1947. By the 60s, it became a primetime televised event. This transformed the address from a congressional report into a national political moment. Timing changes. It was originally done in December. After the 20th Amendment, which was ratified in 1933, congressional sessions shifted. The address then moved to January or to early February. New presidents typically give an address to a joint session of Congress in their first year. It functions like a State of the Union address, but technically it isn't called one. Modern SOTUs include joint sessions in the U.S. Capitol, cabinet members, Supreme Court justices, the Joint Chiefs, invited guests, a designated survivor, an opposition party response. I didn't look to see who that was. So in case you're unaware, the designated survivor would be a member of the cabinet who is not in attendance because everybody else is there, right? So if you've seen the television show, I think it's Kiefer Sutherland. Is that right? I think it's him. There's a chain of command, right? It goes from the president to the vice president, Speaker of the House, Senate Pro Tem, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So one person is designated as the potential replacement, right? Whomever that is. What a great movie script that would be, right? Where the person who's like 13th in line plots to have everybody else taken out ahead of them, and then they can, coincidentally just slide into the president's seat. Don't know who that is. I'll try to find that out for you over the course of the day. Anyway, that person is off-site someplace. Who knows where they are? And then, of course, there's an opposition party response. It's evolved into a legislative agenda speech, a political messaging platform, and a nationally televised narrative moment. The most notable milestones. The longest was Bill Clinton, 1 hour, 28 minutes. The shortest was in the spoken era was Richard Nixon, 28 minutes. And then the first online streamed address was W, and that was in the early 2000s. So over the course of time, it's evolved from a formal report to Congress in the 1790s to the written policy document of the 1800s, legislative persuasion tool in the early 1900s, national broadcast moment in the mid-1900s, and then the modern era becomes a political narrative centerpiece. Why it still matters? Constitutional obligation, it is. A roadmap for legislative priorities, a barometer of national tone, a reflection of the balance between Congress and the presidency, and then a ritual reaffirming democratic continuity. So, I think back to, I think it was Joe Biden's last State of the Union when he called out Republicans, put them on fucking blast, and it was great. Marjorie Taylor Greene cackling in her white pelt, and others flat out lying when they were told on to their face that they've been trying to cut Social Security. And then there was, of course, fact checking, and we did some fact checking, and of course, sure enough, here we are. So it'll be interesting tonight. Of course, we know the track record of this administration. If Peepaw even makes it, what are they gonna jack him up with by the time he gets there? Well past his bedtime. How many diapers will he go through as he stands behind the podium in his failing cognitive state and then just continues to lie to the American public? We shall see. Okay, I want to address this controversy regarding Rep. Tony Gonzalez. I'm not sure if you've been following this story, but I want to get into it. So let me see if I can find it. So Representative Gonzalez, who is under scrutiny for very interesting circumstance. This is a bit, well, it's not really graphic, but I'll talk to you about it. So this is reporting from the Texas Tribune. Texts show Rep. Gonzalez asked for explicit photos from an aide who later took her own life. Additionally, a police report shows that the aide, Regina Santos Aviles, told responding officers she set herself on fire because her husband was romantically involved with her best friend. Just after midnight on May 9th, 2024, U.S. Rep. Tony Gonzalez begged an employee, Regina Santos Aviles, to send him a sexy pic. When she pushed back, saying the conversation had gone too far, the married San Antonio Republican persisted, saying he was saying that he was a visual person, unquote. Santos Aviles Gonzalez, district director in Uvalde, died in September of last year after lighting herself on fire. Her husband, Adrian Aviles, shared these text messages with the Texas Tribune on Monday as evidence of an affair between the congressman and his staffer. Aviles told the San Antonio Express News, which published the messages, that the relationship and the professional ostracization of his wife that she faced after it was discovered that led her to become despondent before her death. Gonzalez did not respond to a request for comment. He said in November that the rumors of an affair between him and Santos Aviles were, quote, completely untruthful, but as more evidence has emerged over the last week, he has sidestepped direct denials, instead accusing Aviles of trying to blackmail him. Of course, just blame the woman. Sure, that tracks. Tried to blackmail him and then blamed his opponent in next week's primary, Brandon Herrera, for politicizing the issue. Gonzalez has also called for the full police report related to Santos Aviles' death to be released. Uvalde officials provided the report to the Texas Tribune on Monday. Do we really think the Uvalde Police Department? We all know very well, thanks to our friend Brett, we all know very well their lack of competence. According to the report, Santos Aviles told responding officers that she set herself on fire because her husband was romantically involved with her best friend. The couple had been estranged for several months after Regina's supposed affair strained the relationship. A friend told the detective investigating her death. Santos Aviles died the next day at a hospital. She and Aviles shared an 8-year-old son. Gonzalez is married with 6 children and represents the 23rd Congressional District, which is the state's largest. It stretches across southwestern border and into San Antonio. He is facing a tough re-election bid as Herrera, a gun rights activist and YouTuber, takes another swing at the seat after almost unseating Gonzalez in 2024. Texas, are you listening? Texas, early voting turnout has been crazy, especially on the Democratic side, up nearly 125% compared to recent midterms. Texas, are you listening? I hope so. Texas non-participating voters, are you listening? I really hope so. In ads and on social media, Herrera has hammered Gonzalez for having a taxpayer-funded affair with a married staffer, which led to her death by self-immolation, as he put it in one post. Herrera also said Gonzalez should step down and rebuff the congressman's claims that he is using Santos Aviles' death to score political points. Calling for your resignation over something you objectively did and then lied about on camera isn't a political attack, Herrera tweeted. It's called accountability. The text messages indicate Gonzalez pushed a sexual relationship with Aviles despite House rules passed in 2018, which I'll get into in just a moment, prohibiting relationships between lawmakers and their staff. The messages sent weeks ahead of Gonzalez's runoff election against Herrera in May of 2024 show the congressman repeatedly pushing the conversation in a sexual direction, even as Santos Aviles tried to deter him. After requesting an explicit photo, which she declined to provide, he asked, quote, her favorite position. She asked for his first, and he said, on top, pinning your legs. Quote, "This is going too far, boss," she replied. He continued to push, but eventually the conversation turned to setting up an in-person liaison. 2 days later, the pair were alone for several hours at a cabin owned by the former staffer's family, the staffer told Express News. Just a few weeks later, Aviles discovered the affair between his wife and her boss. He used her phone to send a group text to Gonzalez and 7 members of the staff, identifying himself as Santos Aviles, soon to be ex-husband, and announcing the affair. Gonzalez and the rest of the staff began to ostracize her to try to get her to quit. Aviles told the newspaper a former staffer confirmed there was a shift in how she was treated. Aviles and his wife separated after the affair came to light, and according to interviews documented by law enforcement, things began to spiral for Santos Aviles. She was struggling with alcohol and threatened self-harm, including an incident where she called Aviles while pointing a firearm at her head. It's an incredibly sad story. In mid-September, 5 months after the affair came to light, Santos Aviles told some family members, friends that, quote, she was pretty sad about the situation and was saying she wanted her family back. The next night, Santos Aviles texted a friend alleging that Aviles was romantically involved with her best friend and expressing that she was upset. She then doused herself in gasoline, sent a video of the act to her friend, asking him to tell Aviles to have fun raising our son. It's an incredibly sad story. It's incredibly sad. So we need to talk about Rep. Gonzalez for just a moment. So this is he was recently interviewed just a couple of weeks back on one of the talking head shows. I think it's Face the Nation, asked specifically about the Dilley Detention Center, which we're also going to get into today because I think it's relevant. But this is Mr. Gonzalez answering questions on this interview, and it'll just kind of give you an idea of who this fucking monster is.
This facility, though, in your district, Dilley, and that is for family detentions. That's where little 5-year-old Liam Ramos from Minnesota was held before a judge, that's the picture of him there, ordered him released. He was ordered released because his family has a pending asylum claim, a legal process. He had entered with U.S. government permission through a process that the Biden administration had deemed legal. The current administration does not, the CBP-1 app. Liam's father gave an interview to Telemundo, and you read the transcript. He's talking about this 5-year-old. He's not okay. He's waking up at night crying. He's worried he's going to be taken again. It's psychological trauma, according to the father. And the administration's still trying to deport him. Do you understand why they are so focused on this 5-year-old and his dad if they did come in through the front door with U.S. government permission?
Well, the front door was via an app that Biden knew exactly what he was doing, and he created this huge mess that now President Trump.
What about Biden?
Is there to clean up. And
but he came in the front door. He wasn't sneaking across the border.
Through an app that wasn't vetted. And the bottom line is that he's likely, they're not going to qualify for asylum. So what do you do with all the people that go through the process and do not qualify for asylum? You deport them. I understand the 5-year-old, and it breaks my heart. I have a 5-year-old at home. I also think, what about that 5-year-old US citizen?
You've got a fucking 5-year-old at home, dude?
You feel comfortable defending that?
I feel comfortable. We have to have a nation of laws. If we don't have a nation of laws,
they were following the law.
I'd also say this.
That's the rub. It's that a new administration deemed the last administration's regulation not to be legal.
We can be compassionate, and we can also enforce our laws. And I think that's the secret sauce that the administration and Congress must do. Let's enforce our laws, but let's do it in a humane way. The facility in Dilley, I've visited there many times. I've visited dozens of different facilities. It is a nice facility. It's a detention facility for people that are in the country illegally that are about to be deported, but it is a nice facility, nicer than some elementary schools in San Antonio.
Advocates have said otherwise.
So keep that in mind. Okay, keep that in mind that he just said the Dilley detention facility is nicer than some elementary schools. Keep that in mind, right? Keep that in mind from the same party where their supporters don't think that food is a right. Okay, keep that in mind. I was seething when I looked into this because I'm going to play some sound from Jessica Craven this morning, who does a breakdown on blue zones, blue butterfly zones in the Dilley Detention Center in his district, by the way. Just to know, the quote was that it's nicer than some elementary schools. Okay, so before I get into that, I just want to kind of go back in time because we're talking about the allegations against him that he had an inappropriate relationship with a staffer. Well, there are rules on that. Not that anybody really fucking cares these days. There's an ethics investigation, typically speaking. So the way that this works, let me see if I can find this. I'm just going to go through the timeline again on Mr. Gonzalez, because this is extremely important because Texas is front and center as far as this election goes. And I am trying to remind people how important it is to vote because people like this guy are in fucking office. What happens between two consenting adults is not for me to judge, okay? But for him to go on the record saying that the facility in Dilley is like a nice elementary school. Okay, May 2024, explicit texts occur. Text message exchange between Rep. Gonzalez and his then regional district director, Regina Santos Avila, show Gonzalez asking for, quote, a sexy pic and making other explicit requests late at night, even after she said the conversation had, quote, gone too far. Separate reporting indicates that these texts took place after midnight in early May. May 29, 2024, the affair allegedly disclosed to colleagues. In a group message sent from Santos Avila's phone, her husband, Adrian, informed Gonzalez's staff that his wife and Gonzalez were having an affair. Spring-summer 2024, personal and office fallout. After discovering the explicit messages, Adrian separated from his wife of many years. According to some accounts, Santos Avila's mental health declined in the months after the affair, and that became known to colleagues. September the 13th to the 14th of 2025, tragic suicide by self-immolation. Regina Santos Avilas died after setting herself on fire in her home. She died the next day. Police and medical examiner reports indicated that she was alone at the time and that no foul play was suspected. Late in 2025, November, Gonzalez addressed the media about Santos Avilas' death, denying rumors about his involvement and emphasizing privacy for her family, but repeating that he saw the circulating allegations as, quote, completely untruthful. There are text messages between him and her. There are text messages between them. He's not denying the text messages. He's just saying it's untruthful. Texas. Story was being used politically. He also insisted on the public release of the Uvalde police report on her death. Late February, multiple news outlets released the explicit May 2024 message exchanges showing Gonzalez is pressing Santos Avilas for sexual content even after she expressed her discomfort. The revelations raise ethical questions because House rules strictly prohibit romantic or sexual relationships between lawmakers and their staff. There are calls from some Republican figures for Gonzalez to resign as well, citing the severity of the allegations and the explicit texts, even as others support him or urge that no judgment be made before formal investigations conclude. Okay, so there is an overview. There are ethical and ethics reviews within Congress. The House Code of Official Conduct, and this is again for everybody, right? Keep this in mind, because we now know that he's been caught claiming that it was blackmail. I'm going to read to you what the ethical rules are. I'm going to give you some examples of people who've done the same thing, and then we're going to listen to my little bitch boy. And what bitch boy says in this clip I'm going to play for you soon will fucking floor you. Okay? So stay tuned. That's called the tease. The House Code of Official Conduct, which all members are required to follow, includes a clear standard on personal conduct with staff. A member, a delegate, or resident commissioner may not engage in any sexual relationship with any employee of the House, who works under that member's supervision or who is employed by a committee on which that member serves. The restriction does not apply to relationships between married individuals. This rule is designed to prevent the abuse of power and conflicts of interest in the workplace by prohibiting consensual sexual relationships where a clear authority dynamic exists. While the Code of Official Conduct explicitly covers this prohibition, it is part of a broader ethical and workplace conduct regime overseen by the House Committee on Ethics and administrative bodies. The House Ethics Committee issues guidance and enforces the Code of Official Conduct for members and for staff. In general, all House members and staff are expected to uphold workplace standards that prevent unwelcome sexual advances, coercion, harassment, and discrimination, or misuse of official positions for personal gain. The Office of Congressional Ethics, or OCE, an independent watchdog, can also investigate and refer matters to the Ethics Committee if there are substantial reasons to believe a violation occurs. Why these rules matter in practice. If a member violates the prohibition against inappropriate relationships with a staff, the House Ethics Committee can investigate allegations and recommend sanctions, including reprimand, censure, or referral to the full House members for action. Although the rules expressly bar supervisory sexual relationships, they also prohibit unwelcome sexual advances or conduct in the workplace generally. I want to point out that these rules are put in place because fucking men doing fucking men shit. Let's be very fucking clear. Let's just be very, very clear. These ethics rules against, advances, coercion, harassment, discrimination are because men are fucking men. Let's be fucking real, okay? These rules exist to protect the professional integrity of congressional offices, safeguard staff from exploitation, and sustain public trust in lawmakers' conduct. Here's a few examples. This is how the process works. Allegation surfaces, whether it be through a media report or from a complaint referral. This is right from the ethics guidelines. The Office of OCE, the Office of Congressional Ethics, may conduct a preliminary interview. OCE can then refer the findings to the House Ethics Committee. The Ethics Committee can then dismiss the matter, issue a public letter of approval, recommend reprimand or censure, refer to the full House for a vote, or in some cases, members resign before discipline concludes. Historically, many cases never reach a full House vote because resignation often intervenes. Here's a few examples. Blake Farenthold, Republican from Texas, sexual harassment of a staffer. A taxpayer-funded settlement was used to resolve the claim. There is a fund within Congress, by the way, that your taxpayer dollars go to support settlements for people in the House and or the Senate accused of crimes like this. Did you know that? There is literally a boys being bad fund, so to speak. He resigned in 2018 after the Ethics Committee investigation advanced. It led to reforms increasing transparency around congressional harassment settlements. John Conyers, Democrat from Minnesota, or from, where's he from? Michigan? From Michigan. Sexual harassment settlements involving former staff. Resigned in 2017 amid mounting pressure and ethics scrutiny. One of the longest serving members in House history, resignation signaled bipartisan seriousness about the Me Too era. Trent Franks, Republican from Arizona, asked a female staffer to consider being a surrogate for him. Numerous staffers he asked to be surrogates. Abuse of authority determined by the Ethics Committee, and then concerns due to his supervisory relationship. He resigned before formal discipline. And Mark Foley from Florida, inappropriate messages to House pages. They were teenagers. He resigned in 2016. Major scandal led to reforms in page oversight and leadership accountability. Taxpayer dollars, friends. Your taxpayer dollars are to sit in a fund so that members of Congress, if they, assault, harass, abuse power of staffers, so that your taxpayer dollars can pay the settlement. Nice. Really fucking nice. So, All that to say, let's listen to what Bitch Boy has to say about Mr. Gonzalez. And I'm gonna highlight a particular point when we get near the end.
Mr. Speaker, why should Tony Gonzalez resign given these very serious accusations?
There are serious accusations, and it must be taken seriously. And I've told him he's got to address that with his constituents, and he's in the process of doing that. Is my understanding. There's an investigation in the state of Texas on these matters, and has been going for some time. And the Office of Congressional Conduct has also, that's been reported. They've been looking at it. All of that was news to me. But I think, as in every case like this, you have to allow the investigations to play out and all the facts to come out. I've been intellectually consistent about this. Whether you're talking about Republicans or Democrats, you have to let the system play out. If someone, I was against, for example, the expulsion of George Santos a while back, because he had been accused of a crime and indicted, but not found guilty. If the accusation of something is going to be the litmus test for someone being able to continue to serve in the House, you'll have a lot of people who would have to resign or be removed or expelled from Congress. So,
did you catch that? If we remove people because they were accused, we wouldn't have any people in Congress. Are you fucking kidding me? So I say, let's fucking round them all up. That's a good way that's a great way to start the matriarchy. I'm going to play that interview again, just because I think there's a couple of things in there that we need to remember.
Why should Tony Gonzalez resign given these very serious accusations?
there are serious accusations, and it must be taken seriously. And I've told him he's got to address that with his constituents, and he's in the process of doing that. Is my understanding. There's an investigation in the state of Texas on these matters, and has been going for some time. And the Office of Congressional Conduct has also, it's been reported. They've been looking at it. And all of that was news to me. But I think, as in every case like this, you have to allow the investigations to play out and all the facts to come out. I've been intellectually consistent about this. Whether you're talking about Republicans or Democrats, you have to let the system.
First of all, no, Mike, you've not been intellectually consistent about this at all. Not one fucking bit. So miss me with your bullshit, you little bitch boy.
Well, yeah. If someone, I was against, for example, the expulsion of George Santos a while back.
You were against the expulsion of George Santos, the guy who literally went to fucking jail and was pardoned by the president because he committed fucking fraud and stole money from his constituents. And you were against his expulsion? Okay.
Because he had been accused of a crime and indicted, but not found guilty. If the accusation of something is going to be the litmus test for someone being able to continue to serve in the House, you'll have a lot of people who would have to resign or be removed or expelled from Congress. So
there it is. If the accusations were all we needed, then Jesus, we wouldn't have a Congress anymore. That's pretty telling, don't you think? It's very Christian of you, Mike. It's been a while since I've had a little chat with Bitch Boy, but that's why I call him Bitch Boy, because of the fact that he's a little fucking bitch. Speaker of the House. He'll be there tonight.
Hey.
Hello there. How are you today?
I just wanted to make one comment. Do you remember when Marjorie Taylor, and I'm not a fan of hers, but remember when she said she was going to start naming names and that she was being harassed in Congress and that this fund existed? She told us that like 2 years ago, right?
She did indeed.
She said it, and she said, and apparently she's been the victim of some of that as well, because she said she would start naming names and things that she had personally experienced. So yeah, apparently it was one of the worst kept secrets in Congress, right?
Yeah, exactly. Worst kept, but best kept at the same time. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Thanks for jumping in today. Be safe out there. Yeah, it's a great point, right? She said she would name names. Well, I guess we'll see, bro. Yeah, he kind of admitted that most of these men are guilty. I mean, again, I don't know if he's admitting that, but that's an interesting take, don't you think? A fund set up to pay off people who are either to defend you in court or just to say maybe this problem should go away. It's all men until it's no men. Plain and fucking simple. Plain and fucking simple. Good morning.
Good morning, Steve. How you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
I just have a question, something I've been thinking about. Um, it's my understanding that if all these files come out, it would span multiple countries, multiple corporations. Am I correct in that?
Oh, absolutely. We saw another arrest with Peter Mandelson, former British ambassador to the U.S.
Right.
We know Prince Andrew was arrested.
So,
We see people resigning all across. We see unrest in Norway, former prime minister. Oh, absolutely. The only place on earth where people are not being held accountable is right here, the land of the free, the home of the brave.
so why isn't Interpol taking interest in this?
They
And
may.
maybe they are. I don't know
They may. They may do that.
because
We'll see. Well,
yeah.
there's reporting that the some people who have been investigating this from outside our shores are calling these crimes against humanity. So you may see that.
Oh, I hope so. But
Me too.
thanks for that, Steve. It was great talking
You're
to
welcome.
you.
Thank you too. Have a good day. Appreciate you. Oh, here's an old friend. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. You look all cozy.
I'm de-thawing from yesterday. I just wanted to, I know, we're waiting for the State of the Union and everything and whatnot. I just wanted to give a little bit of hope. So
Go
in
for it.
Romulus, Michigan, yesterday we rallied against a detention center that was going to happen. It was huge. We had senators, we had representatives, we had clergy. It was denied the zoning. And I'm like, it works. That's all I want to tell people. It works.
It does.
And
It does.
it was a great night, but I came home frozen. And I just thank you for everything that you do. And you give us hope. So thank you.
Thank you, friend. Right back at you. I appreciate you. Stay warm, okay? All
Okay.
right, talk to you
Bye.
later. All right, bye. Yeah, we're seeing, again, we've said this before, right? Can we just learn from black women? Can we really? I'll say it again. I'll say it every fucking day until it gets into people's brains. They show us how to move differently. Can we just fucking listen, pay attention, follow the lead for once? That might really, really help. Might really help. Could help all of us. Could help all of us. So anyway, bitch boy doing that. By the way, my amazing mod team, thank them for all they do. We got some, let's see here. This is we have the designated survivor. His name is Mike Thompson. I've been selected as a designated survivor for tomorrow's State of the Union address, so I won't be there in person, but I'll be watching. Americans deserve accountability for the militarization of ICE, terrorization of our communities, and the unaliving of American citizens. So that would be Rep. Mike Thompson, who is he's from California. Yes. He's apparently one of the designated survivors. I thought it was only one, but it's interesting. I wasn't sure if that was somebody who had to be in the line of succession. Designated survivor is someone who, as I was led to believe, we can do a little bit of research on this, someone who, because we have cabinet members, we have, the joint chiefs, we have the leading leaders of our government on both sides in both the House and the Senate. So if something were to happen, there has to be somebody for continuity of government purposes, right? So that's why it's him. All right, let me go back here real quick. Let me go here. All right. So anyway, so the question was just asked in the chat if we're going to be doing a watch party tonight. I don't know, guys. I really don't know how I feel about it, to be honest, because I don't want to platform his bullshit. Like I don't want to spread those fucking lies. I don't know. I'll let you know. I'm a little conflicted as to what to do exactly. We find that? Okay. I'll play that sound in a little bit. Thank you. All right. So I want to shift gears a little bit because, as I discussed earlier, Representative Tony Gonzalez, the one who had an affair with a staffer, violating ethics rules, lied about it again, went on the record saying that, let me just to level set real quick, He went on the record to say this.
Facility, though, in your district, Dilley, and that is for family detentions. That's where little 5-year-old Liam Ramos from Minnesota was held before a judge, that's the picture of him there, ordered him released. He was ordered released because his family has a pending asylum claim, a legal process. He had entered with U.S. government permission through a process that the Biden administration had.
So again, while you're listening to this, remember that this is the guy who had the affair with a staffer in violation of all ethics rules, right? This guy. This is the guy that part of the end of their relationship led to her, the person who had the affair with, the staffer, to take her own life.
Had deemed legal. The current administration does not, the CBP1 app. Liam's father gave an interview to Telemundo, and you read the transcript. He's talking about this 5-year-old. He's not okay. He's waking up at night crying. He's worried he's going to be taken again. It's psychological trauma, according to the father. And the administration is still trying to deport him. Do you understand why they are so focused on this 5-year-old and his dad if they did come in through the front door with U.S. government permission?
Well, the front door was via an app that Biden knew exactly what he was doing, and
the app developed during the Trump administration, by the way,
created this huge mess that now President Trump is there to clean up. And
but he came in the front door. He wasn't sneaking across the border.
Through an app that wasn't vetted, and the bottom line is that they're not going to qualify for asylum. So what do you do with all the people that go through the process and do not qualify for asylum? You deport them. I understand the 5-year-old, and it breaks my heart. I have a 5-year-old at home. I also think, what about that 5-year-old U.S. citizen?
You feel comfortable defending that?
I feel comfortable. We have to have a nation of laws. If we don't have a nation of laws,
they were following the law.
I'd also say this.
That's the rub. It's that a new administration deemed the last administration's regulation not to be legal.
We can be compassionate, and we can also enforce our laws. And I think that's the secret sauce that the administration and Congress must do. Let's enforce our laws, but let's do it in a humane way. The facility in Dilley, I've visited there many times. I've visited dozens of different facilities. It is a nice facility. It's a detention facility for people that are in the country illegally that are about to be deported, but it is a nice facility, nicer than some elementary schools that are in San Antonio.
Nicer than some elementary schools. Okay, so with that, let's talk about it. So I'm going to play some sound from this creator, Park Rose Permaculture. This is a short that she made, and she's going to reference a story being told by Jess Craven. We all know who Jess Craven is. So this is about 9 minutes long. It's worth every second. We're talking about Dilley specifically. Rep. Gonzalez, the same guy that, again, abused his power and authority by having an affair with a staffer, that guy who just called the Dilley detention facility as nice as some elementary schools. Okay? Here you go.
We need to talk about blue butterflies. This morning, Jessica Craven broke a story that really rattled me. Not because anything she said was shocking or surprising. In fact, it's the opposite. It's because I have a whole file on my computer of stories, research, news articles that caused me, when I saw her video, to say, oh, yeah, okay, I should have been aware that this was likely happening. So I want to share her news story with you, and then I want to provide some more context, connect it to some of the things I've been talking about over the last several months. And then I want to talk about how we as regular, everyday, ordinary Americans can help. Please be prepared. This is going to be upsetting. It will be upsetting, not graphic, but upsetting.
Yeah. So trigger warnings. I've listened to the video. I've watched it. Not graphic, but certainly disturbing.
Okay. So I've got more really disturbing stuff coming out of Dilley. This one is really upsetting me. And I want to tell you guys, I don't have a tremendous amount of information, but I want to flag something very concerning. So at this point, I am on like regular text.
Imagine being able. Ads to drag.
Base 44.
Conversations with Casey, who runs Each Step Home, which is an organization that helps children, immigrant children, with Dr. Anita Patel, who has been advocating for the kids at Dilley, indirectly with Lydia Terrazas, who's the amazing reporter who's reporting out of Dilley. They're all working with Representative Castro's and Jasmine Crockett's office. Everybody is trying to get to the bottom of what the fuck is happening to children and pregnant women and everybody at Dilley.
Just to be very, very clear, just to be absolutely crystal fucking clear, The Dilley Detention Center, the concentration camp, is what Representative Gonzalez referred to as just as nice as some elementary schools. Okay?
But here is a detail that I saw first on a screenshot of one of Lydia's text messages to some of the other women about something called blue zones at Dilley. And it struck me. It was tucked into a text about something else, but she said there are blue zones where teenage girls are being kept at Dilley and nobody can see them. Nobody can access them. No one knows what's happening to them. So I was like, wait, what? What about these blue zones? So Anita, Dr. Patel, was on a call with the two Texas representatives' offices just today, and they confirmed they're not blue zones. They're called blue butterfly zones. And these zones are zones where the teenage detainees, the girls under 18, are kept together where nobody can check on them. Press can't go there. Not that press can go inside anyway, but they can't talk to them. Members of Congress can't see them. No one will explain why they can't be seen. They are off limits to everybody. They have basically disappeared into a black hole at Dilley, a place that is already rife with systemic abuse of children. And teenage girls have been put away somewhere and no one knows what's happening to them. This by a federal government that about 12 or 13% of whom are affiliated with the Epstein ring. What the fuck is happening? When will enough Americans stand up and go, this is absolutely not okay? What is happening with the blue butterfly zones, you guys? This is only one of many things, but these are teenage girls. Raise the fucking roof on this. Would you please call your representatives? Yep. We need people in there. We need to know that those girls are okay. And we need these centers to be shut down.
First of all, Jessica, thank you for elevating the plight of teenage girls inside the Dilley concentration camp in Texas. Dilley has a horrific human rights record. This is where children are being denied access to medical care, not given enough food. Families fight over water. Children.
Again, Rep. Gonzalez referred to this facility in particular as nice as some San Antonio elementary schools. Okay.
Children are kept for months on end inside a concentration camp, and there's report after report after report of abuse. When I heard Jess say they were called blue butterfly zones, I immediately thought of Jeffrey Epstein victim Virginia Giuffre, who was trafficked from Mar-a-Lago, where she worked as a teenager in Donald Trump's spa as a spa attendant. Jeffrey Epstein trafficked her. She was an outspoken advocate for herself and other victims, and her symbol that she used was the blue butterfly. The teenage trafficking victim of Jeffrey Epstein was known internationally for being connected to the symbol of the blue butterfly. So when I heard that teenage girls inside Dilley concentration camp were being put in blue butterfly zones, yeah. So for about a year, I have been sharing information, data, stories about the high rate of DHS agents, ICE, and Customs and Border Patrol committing DV, sexual assault, and other violent crimes. But these reports didn't start just a year ago. This has been an ongoing concern for many, many years. I really started digging into the long and concerning history of federal agents assaulting immigrants when early last year we were hearing accounts that men were pretending to be ICE agents and then assaulting women, and everybody was horrified about that. And I was like, okay, but the actual ICE agents are also assaulting women, and they've been doing it for a long time. And then there were a number of cases last year of MAGA pastors who pled guilty to or were convicted of possessing CSAM or committing other crimes against children. And so I did a little bit more digging and found out how many Border Patrol agents have been charged with trafficking children or CSAM. There's one case of an Arizona Border Patrol agent that is currently going through the courts. He was producing CSAM, allegedly producing. So let me just roll you back through a couple of these. Newsweek article from 2024, when Joe Biden was president, more than 200 Border Patrol officers were implicated in various misconduct cases, including 17 cases of DV, 11 cases of SA, and 10 instances of smuggling immigrants across the border between the US and Mexico, literally trafficking human beings. Also in 2024, Customs and Border Patrol agent Aaron Mitchell was found guilty of kidnapping and SAing a minor. And you might say, well, that's Border Patrol. They have a long-standing problematic reputation. People compare them to the SS and ICE as the brown shirts. Okay, well, let's look at ICE agents and guards inside ICE facilities. 2023, again, Joe Biden presidency. Hundreds of immigrants have reported sexual abuse at ICE facilities. Most cases are not investigated. That was a piece that came out on the PBS NewsHour in July of 2023. The piece discusses in graphic detail multiple instances of immigrant women inside ICE detention facilities being assaulted by guards. But we can go back even further than that. I have a ProPublica piece from 2020 pinned at the top of this list of articles for me because I found it, they're all disturbing. I found this one particularly disturbing. ICE guards systematically sexually assault detainees at an El Paso detention center. The piece discusses how guards exploited blind spots where the cameras can't see what's going on. They tell the immigrants that no one will believe them and there's no point in reporting it. I just want to remind you that DHS and ICE have only been around since 2003. They're only 23 years old. They're not even old enough to rent a car. And even if you just take a small chunk of that 23 years, 2010 to 2016, there were 14,700 complaints alleging sexual and physical abuse by ICE agents against immigrants. As of 2018, however, ICE had only officially reported 374 formal accusations. And of those, they had only substantiated 48. At the time, immigrants' rights attorney Linda Corchado explained how these women are particularly vulnerable because they're likely going to get deported. So agents feel free to assault and abuse them. And then the women go over the border. And then these men are protected from facing any justice, any consequences for what they've done. Corchado said, it's awful to think how disposable these women are. It's deeply, deeply concerning to hear that these teenage girls in the Dilley concentration camp are being kept in these zones where their lawyers, members of Congress, their parents cannot access them. Exponentially more concerning when you understand that this is just the status quo. This has been going on for a long time, and now under Donald Trump and Stephen Miller, these guys know if they were 95% likely to avoid facing any consequences for assaulting women in detention centers, now they sure as hell are going to get away with doing it every single time. They are so empowered. Concentration camps create conditions where women and girls will be assaulted. And we've got to be raising holy hell. We've got to be letting everybody know that this is happening. We've got to be contacting our elected officials on the regular, every single day, calling about this, sending an email. This is what DHS is. The entire system is set up to abuse immigrants. This is not a glitch. This is a function. There's no reforming this, y'all. The only solution is to abolish ICE and completely dismantle DHS. It's only 23 years old. We don't have to have it in this country. We're spending tens of billions of taxpayer dollars so that the Epstein class and their foot soldiers can abuse women and girls. Stephen Miller wants to expand that abuse dramatically, creating concrete concentration camps holding 2.5 times as many human beings as our largest federal prisons. He wants hundreds of thousands of people kept in situations like this. And it's up to us, the American people, to stop it.
202-224-3121. It's 202-224-3121. That's the congressional switchboard. We all talk every day about doing something. That would be something you can do. 5 calls app, 202-224-3121. Could be anybody. I mean, this literally could happen to anyone. Blue butterfly zones, where they take the girls, the teenage girls, the children, let's be real, out of sight of camera, out of sight of oversight. Still feel like your vote isn't important? Still feel like, you just don't want to be bothered? You still feel like, that person's a bit too moderate for me? 202-224-3121. Again, 202-224-3121. That's the Congressional Switchboard. Ask for your rep. This is the Dilley Detention Center. The same detention center that Rep Gonzalez said it's just as nice as some San Antonio elementary schools. So what do you want to believe? What do you want to believe? Do you want to believe that? Or do you want to believe the survivors? Or do you want to believe that the symbol of survivors has become the blue butterfly, right? 202-224-3121. Rep Gonzalez, the same guy who's now embroiled in controversy because he lied about an affair. Again, just to be clear, if they are consenting adults, that's their choice. Doesn't seem like it was consenting, though, there at the end now, did it? No, it didn't. But apparently, this just summer camp is just as nice as any elementary school in San Antonio. I highly doubt that. I highly doubt that. For Claire, I saw somebody make the comment in the chat. Clinton was impeached because he lied to Congress to try to cover up his affair. That's why he was impeached, because he lied. Yeah. This story gets worse because this is just the beginning. This involves now billionaires. Harlan Crow, who, by the way, used to fund luxury outings for Clarence Thomas, Supreme Court Justice, including paying off the debt of Clarence Thomas's mom. His son, Trammell, connected to numerous events like this, including in New Hampshire. You'd be surprised, right? You think I kid when I talk about New Hampshire? I don't. So here's the story. Rachel Maddow did a great breakdown of this. I'll play this for you as well. Everybody keep tapping and sharing. Don't forget, we are marching towards our 25K fundraising goal for the Do Something Tour. If you want to support us, the best way to do that is through the various pay apps, Cash App, PayPal, Venmo. In the link tree, you'll find the Do Something Tour Instagram page. Please click on that and follow along. Thank you, friends.
This was Concord, New Hampshire yesterday at the state capitol. We the people say no ice in Merrimack. No ice in Merrimack. Also, good people never built concentration camps. This is a protest over the weekend against a Trump prison camp that they're trying to build in Merrimack, about a half hour south of the state capitol in New Hampshire. Amid all the pushback they're seeing against this in the state, the Trump administration sent over to the New Hampshire state government some reading material.
I see a lot of guest requests. I'll bring you guys up once I get through this, and then we'll talk. So if you want to hang in there, I'll happy to bring you up. But I just want to get through this video. This is like eight minutes long, so everybody hang tight.
All about how actually nobody should oppose this. This is going to be great for the people of New Hampshire. What they sent over said, quote, the Department of Homeland Security plans to make a major economic investment in a new detention facility in Merrimack, New Hampshire. They didn't dot the I in Merrimack with a smiley face, but it kind of seemed like they were trying to. They brag about how the camp this prison camp will bring a ton of jobs to the state, to New Hampshire. They write about all the positive ripple effects this Trump prison camp will have on the, quote, Oklahoma economy. Wait a minute. This new prison camp in southern New Hampshire is going to be a boon for the great people of Oklahoma? Why does it say that? On the document they sent to the state government in New Hampshire to try to get them all psyched about this Trump prison camp, they not only placed Merrimack, New Hampshire somehow in Oklahoma, they also forgot to remove the comments, the internal comments ICE officials sent back and forth among themselves when they were putting this thing together. After people started pointing out what a mess this thing was, the White House apparently sent over to New Hampshire a revised copy of the same document, and it at least had some corrections. It had the right state name on it. That's nice. They also got rid of the internal comments from Homeland Security officials, but it was still filled with other mistakes. The document brags about how this Trump prison camp is going to bring millions of dollars to New Hampshire by way of state income taxes and state sales taxes, despite the fact that New Hampshire does not have either of those taxes. The document also references all the tax benefit that's going to flow to the county government in New Hampshire, despite the fact that the New Hampshire government doesn't work that way. It's not a county government, it's a town government. What are you talking about? But as much of an embarrassment as this is...
Hold on. Commercial.
The Trump administration, which apparently can't even spell New Hampshire, let alone lie to it with a straight face. The person for whom this has become a real political debacle turns out to be the New Hampshire governor, because she is a Republican. Her name is Kelly Ayotte, and she has botched this thing in about 30 different ways.
Goes without saying, Kelly Ayotte, a woman aware of these abuses against women, children, girls across the country, obviously fucking aware of it. Listen to this fucking bullshit.
When the ACLU published documents earlier this year showing that the Trump administration had talked to at least some officials in New Hampshire about this forthcoming prison camp, Governor Ayotte said, well, she didn't know anything about it. She blamed a state agency under her purview for failing to tell her about these discussions. That ultimately led to the resignation of one of her cabinet officials. The governor said she had tried to get the Trump administration to answer questions about their plans for this prison camp at Merrimack, but they wouldn't answer her. That became a problem for Governor Ayotte when the head of ICE was asked about it at a Senate hearing a few days ago. He not only confirmed that the Merrimack Trump prison camp was a go, he said his agency had specifically spoken with Governor Ayotte about it. They talked to her personally. He said, quote, DHS has worked with Governor Ayotte. We've spoken to the governor about the facility.
So who's lying? This DHS director or the governor of New Hampshire? Kelly? We fucking see you, Kelly. Granite Staters, are you out there? Are you aware of this story? Kelly? Okay.
Governor Ayotte immediately denied that was true. She once again claimed that she had no idea what any of this was about. She said the Trump administration had sent her no details about their plans for Merrimack, which is why the White House promptly sent over those typo-riddled plans for the prison in her state and how great they'd be for Oklahoma. Meanwhile, as we've seen everywhere ICE wants to put one of these prison camps, the pressure against doing any such thing is growing and growing. Voters in New Hampshire, local residents continue to protest it. New Hampshire's entire congressional delegation, both the Senate and the House, is demanding answers about it. Even the governor next door in Massachusetts has called on Kelly Ayotte to oppose it. For her part, Governor Ayotte won't say whether she's for it or against it. She's just proclaiming.
By the way, I contacted the Vermont governor, Phil Scott's office yesterday, and was not exactly calm. Let's put it that way.
To be profoundly confused, which is getting to be a political catastrophe for Kelly Ayotte as the people of New Hampshire stand up against this thing. This is a headline from the Concord Monitor out of New Hampshire. Quote, if the governor truly did not know about the ICE prison being built in her state, then New Hampshire has a governor who is not paying attention to critical developments. If she did know and chose not to engage publicly, that is even worse. Either way, the result is the same, a failure of leadership at a moment when clarity and accountability are...
Another fucking ad. Sorry.
Essential. That very tough wording in an op-ed from New Hampshire State Rep Wendy Thomas, who represents the town of Merrimack, where ICE wants to turn a warehouse into a huge Trump prison camp. Joining us now is...
That's part of it. So that's the underlying theme of this story, is that they want to put another one of these fucking concentration camps in fucking New Hampshire. And apparently Kelly Ayotte knew nothing about it. Meanwhile, she's getting funded donations to her campaign from the same fucking people who greased Clarence Thomas's pockets. Shocker. Shocker.
State Rep Wendy.
As we are at day 67 of the Trump administration breaking the fucking law.
Thomas of New Hampshire. Representative Thomas, it's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for making time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
So I should just tell you, my office, we reached out to Governor Ayotte in New Hampshire today. We haven't yet heard back. But can I just get your take, your read on what's going on here with your governor? She's refusing to say whether or not she wants this Trump prison camp or not in Merrimack. And she's professing to be basically confused and unaware that it's happening. It's very hard to follow from the outside.
Well, to me, that smacks of either incompetence or lying, as I wrote in the op-ed.
Or both.
There are all sorts of things that are happening simultaneously. One is that the owner of the warehouse turns out is a large financial donor to Kelly Ayotte's campaigns. So we've got that problem. And the fact that she keeps saying that it's up to the towns. It's up to the towns. I'm going to let the towns decide. Well, our town has already decided we don't want this. We have a town council government, 7 members. They sent a letter down to Washington that said we don't want this in our town. And Ayotte is still dragging her heels on this. She's just, you know, I saw what you were saying earlier about, you know, the ICE facilities that are being closed down and being stopped. And that's not going to happen in Merrimack. The warehouse has been sold. We are going to have an ICE detention center in our town. And this is the same town that a couple weeks ago, the biggest discussion in our town was a rooster noise ordinance. You know, we are just, you know, we're not a big town. We're a little town. We're a town. We've got 30,000 people.
That's it. Tiny. Typical New England town.
I know that you led a community meeting over Zoom on this yesterday with a couple of your fellow Democratic lawmakers, some other local leaders too from Merrimack. And from what I understand, you got a really big turnout for that, and your constituents have been pretty up in arms about this. What came out of that meeting? What are you hearing from your constituents? What other options do people feel like they might have at this point?
Well, about 80 people attended that Zoom, which was pretty amazing for a Sunday night Zoom in New Hampshire. People are terrified. I'm hearing from constituents that are people of color that if ICE is in our town, they don't want to leave their homes. They're not going to send their kids to school. I mean, we're seeing what's happening in Minnesota. You know, we're not blind. We can see the illegality, the violence, the disregard for human life, really. That's what it comes down to. So people are terrified. The other thing around this facility that they have purchased, now the deed has not been registered, so we don't know exactly who bought it yet. But the longer they take to file the deed, the more it looks like the government has gotten it. And trucks are going in with supplies and setting up equipment. So it's pretty clear what's happening. But there's a child care facility that's very close to this detention center. It's the Merrimack YMCA, and they just expanded their child care facility. So that's very close by. And a abutter to the land that this facility will be located in is the Nashua Gun and Nashua Gun Club. So they use it to do target practice, you know, and so you're going to have target practice right next to this facility.
Are you 50-year-old?
Facility. This facility is also located on contaminated PFAS land, and that's something that is an issue.
Well, somewhere in America right now, there is a lawyer who has expertise in matters like these, who is wondering whether or not they should stick their hand up and try to volunteer to help the people of Merrimack. State Representative Wendy.
So let's just, pull back a second. Taxpayer dollars being used to build these facilities then becoming the for-profit prison complex, concentration camps. Question I have for you, right, is this. Once all the illegals are deported, what happens to those facilities? Should I expect a knock on my door? Because we know that they're going after content creators. We know that they're going after influencers. Fucking bring it, you pathetic fucks. You wonder why we call you fucking Nazis? This is why. This is exactly why. For money, friends. For money. That's what this is about every single day. I could have a background that just says follow the money every fucking day across the country. Billions of dollars, taxpayer dollars, using to convert these facilities, purchase these facilities, build new facilities. What happens then? What happens? What happens after they've got everybody out? Okay. Just wanted to make sure. Just wanted to check on that. Just wanted to make sure. It's all for money. The entire thing. Everybody just wants a slice. Everybody just wants a piece of the fucking cash. Unbelievable. Hey, Ash. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing well, thanks. Okay, I just have a few seconds. Do you care if I say something about what you were talking about in the beginning with the pregnant teens?
No, please do.
So typically unaccompanied minors wouldn't be put in detention centers prior to this administration. I'm sure everybody here knows this. I'm really speaking and pleading out to the pro-life people who care about babies and young girls. But there was a policy that mandated DHS to send in reports on when they detained pregnant, postpartum, or nursing people. And that was because we used to be humane people. And there's a policy that is in place from 2021 that basically says, like, don't detain pregnant, postpartum, and nursing people unless you absolutely have to. And if you do, document it, and they need to be somewhere where they have access to care. Like somebody down there saying, like, they would go somewhere where foster care, because teen pregnancies are high risk.
Right.
So I had lots of thoughts about, and I made a video about it, and I wanted to know, yes, baby, 1 second, what's going to happen to the babies? If we're not documenting this, there's no oversight. We have no idea what's happening. And then somebody said, yeah, maybe what's going to happen to the babies, but also she suggested they just want them to miscarry, because these would be.
Seems like it.
So I have so much concern. I mean, and maybe I'm just venting, but like, that's a big deal to me. And what happens when the babies are born? Are we going to know? Is there anywhere that we can document this? And then if they're having miscarriages, I mean, stress on the body is worse than doing schmugs sometimes when you're pregnant. It has the same impacts. So I don't know. My mind went to they want their babies. Other people's minds have gone to they're going to force them into it, because they're in in Texas, where there's the strictest abortion laws.
Correct.
So I don't know. To me, I hate that somebody else reminded me that my mind has to go to darker corners.
Sadly, but again, we have to call it out. I mean, just the hypocrisy alone from that representative saying, "Oh yeah, this facility in Dilley, it's just like an elementary school in San Antonio. Nothing to see here."
And that's different. There's a facility in San Benito that's been where they've been housing pregnant teens, and some people from ORR. They did some. That's where the sources came from. That they've been directed to send all of the pregnant teens there. So they're grouping them together, which is just really odd. I mean, it's not odd. Look at history. It's calculated. But the reason I just wanted to say that, as you're looking through and to anybody who's looking for a reason to leave, they're taking away your ability, policy by policy, with not being able to see what's going on. So if you care about what's happening, they're removing visibility from all of us. So pay attention. Those EO orders from him and everything, it's just sorry, I haven't had my coffee yet. It's okay. They're taking away all of our transparency, and then they're lying to you, and because you can't see anything, you just believe what's being told to you. Like, don't fall for the trap. Don't fall for the trap, you guys. Yeah, grouping teens together, that's suspicious, y'all. Come on, pay attention.
Agreed.
All right, that's
thanks
it.
for being here. Appreciate you. Have a good day. Be safe out there.
You too. Bye.
All right, bye. I never in a million years would have ever thought, perhaps that's being naive, that we would have gone to this extreme because of money. What's the explanation? Well, we know that there's the racism and the misogyny and the bigotry and all those factors. We get all that, right? We get all that. That's always been there. But now it's just so fucking obvious. Here we sit, right? Here we sit. Here we sit in this fucking hellhole, greed, corruption. Human life just becomes disposable, especially girls, right? It's fucking wild, man. I never thought I would ever see it, but here we are. So what are we going to do? Good morning, my friend. How are you?
Hey, buddy. Just a couple of quick things. When that rep keeps saying they're as good as elementary schools in San Antonio, it makes me question how good the schools in San Antonio are. These are the same people who want to destroy schools. So I don't know if his comparison's accurate or inaccurate. Secondly, did I hear correctly? They're building this new facility in New Hampshire on toxic ground?
Correct.
Wow. Just wow.
You guys thought I was kidding. You guys thought I was kidding about New Hampshire. I've been trying to tell you. I have been trying to fucking tell you. This is it, man.
Wow. And to what Ash said a moment ago about transparency, you and I both know the right and MAGA, they don't care about transparency. They're fed their pablum.
Correct.
They'll stick with it. They don't believe what transparency exposes. So, of course, they're going to hide stuff because the only people who give a shit is us.
Correct.
And they already don't care what we think.
Correct.
So I just...
Well, I think that's a great point. They don't care, right? They'll just use the blame game, the punching down to brown people, marginalized communities as justification for all of it. Meanwhile, the lie that they told was we're just going after the bad apples, the worst of the worst. And we know that that's not happening. We know that they're doing this in front of us. They're literally playing in our faces. And who the fuck is going to stand up? Who the fuck is going to do it? Leftists, again, for those of you who don't participate, for those of you who talk a fucking good game, then you bail out at the end. You're part of this fucking problem. Do you understand? You're part of this problem. You've got to think differently. You can't just stand there and say, I want changes. We all want changes. This is about survival. We're talking about who are more vulnerable than children? Who? There is no one more vulnerable than children. So what the fuck are you going to do about it?
You'll get no argument out of me. I agree with you 100%. And just a quick question, and before you dump me, you've talked about the matriarchy, and is this reason to bring in the matriarchy? And I'm all for that. But the question I have is, from a systemic point of view, how do you see that? Do you see us still using the Constitution? Do you see us still using the system we have in place, only primarily run by the matriarchy versus the patriarchy? Or do you see a different system?
I think it's both. I think the beauty of the Constitution is it was built to be amended. I think that's the point. So if we just look at the original, the textual, initial document of governance, there are some things in there that certainly didn't apply to equal rights for all. So my belief of the matriarchy is to get out of our dependency on capitalism and have a democratic socialist society, because it would just make people's lives better. There's no denying that. I'm not opposed to people making money. I'm not opposed to that. It's got nothing to do with it. I'm not opposed to people achieving things in life. That's not the issue. The issue is structurally, we do not support our society. And I learned this from a live that I was on about how the democratic socialist countries in Europe, the Scandinavian countries in general, their constitution is built around the collective. Our constitution is built around the individual. My rights, my freedoms, my liberty. I would just like an approach to governance on the whole so that our society becomes better on the collective. And the only way I see that happening, this is a long-winded answer, but you get my point. The only way I see that happening is with a matriarchy that would prioritize expanding the court so we can take back some of the rights that were taken away from us, expanding senatorial seats so that we can get a majority for the next 20 years. Don't forget, the right has been playing this game for 50 years to get us here. There's got to be patience by the left, which is not the strong suit, wanting to fix things tomorrow. The analogy I like to use is that Trump and the Christo-fascists took a plate off the wall, smashed it on the floor into 1,000 pieces, and the left thinks that they can repair it as fast as it was broken. No, invest for the long fucking haul.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. That you and I've talked about this a lot. It is one of the great weaknesses of our side.
Correct.
That we see a problem, we want it fixed now. That's adorable. Correct. We're within a system that would fracture if we tried to do that. And then it's, well, I'm going to take my ball and go home. No.
That's what happens.
It's like, get your knuckles dirty, get into the fight, be willing to do the long haul fight.
Exactly.
So, but anyway, brother.
Thank you, man.
You have
Appreciate
a lovely day.
Same to you. Be safe out there. Take care. I mean, that's the whole point, right? Obviously, would I support amending the Constitution? Absolutely, I would. Absolutely, I would. There's got to be an appetite to do that, and you can't do that under our current system because you're not electing enough progressives. So this goes back to the State of the Union. Our State of the Union we are in fucking denial, delusion, complicity, whatever you might want to say. That is a both sides issue. There is one political party in our country that even hat tips mildly to the preservation of rights. I have never in my lifetime lived in an era where rights are being taken away. That's what's happening. Rights are being taken away from people. Okay? I want to go back to the time where we can move our society forward. Progress versus conserve. Are you a progressive or are you a conservative? And there are conservatives in both political parties. I want structural fucking change. That's what I want. And to get there, it may not happen in my lifetime, but I'd like to see my daughter, who's 18, live in a country that is governed by women. The prioritization of things that should matter. We wouldn't be having a conversation about whether or not food would be a fucking right, or water, or shelter, or healthcare. I know, we're so fucking radical. Crazy. Emily Ray, how are you this morning?
I'm good, but not good. I think you understand.
I do.
You were talking about the facility in New Hampshire, I believe it was, when I clocked in here. Yes. And I wanted to share something because I'm in Maryland. I think you know that. People that have been here long enough know that. RAG has officially is trying to halt a facility of their own in Hagerstown as of right now. I have the thing, what's it called? The article pulled up if you don't mind me reading it.
No, go ahead.
It says, are we allowed to say ICE on ICE officials? Okay, I was just making sure there wasn't words that we were going to get ICE officials previously confirmed to WJZ, which would be our local news affiliate, that the agency has purchased a facility. These will not be warehouse. They will be Sorry, it just blew me away because I hadn't read it fully yet. These will be well-structured detention centers meeting our regular detention standards. Every day, DHS is conducting law enforcement activities across the country to keep America safe. It is. I'm reading this with all the sarcasm because it's not what they're doing, but it should not come to news that ICE will be making arrests across the U.S. and actively working on expanding detention space. However, the lawsuit, which would be the one that our Attorney General has filed, alleges that DHS and ICE did not conduct the environmental review of the project nor open a proposal to public comment. The 28-page filing claims that DHS and ICE are moving quickly to implement the nationwide attention agenda and disregarding federal law. And this is a direct quote from Anthony Brown. He is our AG. Yeah. We are asking the court halt construction and operation of this facility. We are asking that the court require proper environmental review and public input, and we are asking the court to declare this administration as unlawful.
The point is, Emily Ray, is that this is systemic. This is happening everywhere. And where is the resistance going to come from? That's the point. That's the point. What are we fighting for if we're not fighting for the most innocent amongst us? Thanks for bringing that to our attention. I appreciate you jumping in today. Thanks for being here.
Sorry for my my shaky reading. I'm not good at public reading.
It's okay. Don't worry about it. You did great. Again, we're shining a light on it. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you. Again, the administration that lies to you every single day, the administration that is corrupt, the administration that we are at day 67 violating federal law because they haven't released everything in the Trump files. I'm going to play some more. I've got an affidavit, a signed under threat of perjury that I'm going to read for you from a credible complaint. Thank you to Emma. I saw you in here. I think I had it, but in general, we're going to talk about that too, right? Quickly, I want to thank Shifty Lincoln for the super chat. Good morning, Steve. High five for using your microphone to speak the truth to power. You're a rising star, my friend. Thank you, Shifty Lincoln. I appreciate you. That's very kind. Let me just check here real quick. Everybody, tapping is clapping, friends. Sharing is caring. Liking is loving. We appreciate you all very much for being here. I want to thank Sarah and to Crystal. Thank you so much for your kind contributions. We appreciate you very much. Also, thank you to... let's see, this is Maria. Thank you, Maria. You're very kind. Appreciate you. Also, thanks to Stacy. Thanks, Stacy. That's very kind of you. Appreciate you very much. You guys are great. Actually, this is now, hold on a second. Math in my head. Thank you, guys. The term playing in your face, right? That's what this is. You can't, just like we say this a lot, right? Kind of bouncing around a little bit because this just makes me angry. You can't claim to be the party of law and order. You never could, but you can't anymore. You can't claim to be the party of family values. You never really could, but you certainly can't anymore. You can't claim to be the party that's protecting innocent life. You never really were, but you certainly can't anymore, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So therefore, no small government, no fiscal responsibility. You stand for nothing but hatred, racism, bigotry. That's it. That's why your party, Republicans, that's why you have to cheat. That's why you want to suppress the vote of voters, because you want to continue your Yahtzee fucking agenda. And we're going to break this down. The Atlantic did a great story on this, about how the rise of Yahtzeeism in America. You think I like to talk about it all the time? You think I enjoy it? You think I want to have conversations about how the United States of America in 2026 can be compared to Yahtzee Germany? Fuck no. Hey, if the truth fucking hurts, I said if the shoe fits, fucking get over it. It's just unacceptable. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I don't even mean to diminish it, but that's just where we sit. Cowboy Wolf, how are you today? Hello? Cowboy Wolf, are you there? Cowboy Wolf going once, going twice. Progressive in your pocket. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you. It's frustrating because I don't feel like people are going to do anything about it. Hi, Chrissy. How are you?
Hi, good. Thank you. I'm just calling in. Thank you for everything you do. And
Sure.
I am a fourth generation Derry, New Hampshire native, and we live in generational houses, so it's not kind of a thing we can just move out of here. However, there is no place to protest in Merrimack because they have not cleaned any of the what's it called? The parking lots, the driveways, the sidewalks, or anything. So we've been protesting at the town hall. We were also told, and I believe Massachusetts governor said that it's going to be a holding facility. Now, I know you know about New England and everything. 95% of New Hampshire is, I'm going to say, white. It's not a huge, you know what I mean, for us to actually have a detention center concentration camp that should not be there. And it's on contaminated land. So that would totally, the Merrimack, Litchfield, Nashua areas that get water and there's sewer from them, it would be all, what's the word I'm thinking of? Disrupted. So we are out there protesting at the town hall. We are, Maggie Goodlander is out there with Chris Pappas, and we're all trying to get them, but they just can't, they're just not there. Nobody's listening. Kelly Ayotte's not listening. And again, I know you work with a lot of facts. There is word that it was Kelly Ayotte's husband who has the deed to this. I don't know if it's true. I'm still working on
that too.
You heard that
I've heard
too?
that too.
So that's why they're not releasing it. And that goes towards her campaign. We are not happy with her. We are not all, New Hampshire people are not all libertarians or whatever they think.
I know that. I know that.
But they're not even letting us protest because they are not, but there is, vehicles going in and out. There's tractor trailers, there's cops, they won't even let you near the place to even protest. So we are struggling to do that. However, I do think it's going to be a holdover center, or taking people from California that are used to warm to this freezing cold place. There's no water setup. There's no sewer setup. It's just going to be a major, we're not happy about it. We are not happy about it. So I just kind of wanted to throw that out there, that we are trying our best, and we are signing letters, calling every day to, do what we can to keep this out of here as best as we can. But thank you for all you do. And we appreciate you very much. And,
thank you. Just keep reminding people. That's part of what we can do. And we have to keep telling the story. So thank you for being here, because I appreciate you very much.
Thank you.
Good day. Be safe. Be safe out there. Yeah, I mean, again, the financing to Kelly Ayotte's campaign came from the Crow family, Harlan Crow, one of the people. He's like, what's his name? I can't think of his name. He's part of the dark money that gets involved in politics. Again, another reason for the matriarchy, because I can guarantee you under the matriarchy that you would be addressing dark money. You'd have campaign finance reform. You would be Citizens United would be overturned, right? We know that. Lobbying would be outlawed. That's something that I've been advocating for a very long time, for a decade or more. Yeah, Trammell Crow, Harlan Crow. These are the people. Harlan Crow, again, paid off Clarence Thomas's mom's house, bought him an RV, whole bunch of other shit. But again, nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. So if you want a matriarchy, if that sounds good to you, prioritization of things that should matter, education, healthcare, food, shelter, water, then you know what you need to do. You cannot sit by and watch. You got to get involved. You have no choice. No choice. Lupo, what misinformation am I speaking? Feel free to come up and we can talk about it, because you're just wrong. So just so you know. The truth hurts, understandably. Hey, Freedom, how you doing, man?
I'm doing. I'm in some newfound hope after a couple, especially last Friday watching you. I think I'm laser focused, and everybody should be. Of course, we got the primaries. I'm in Illinois, and I'm super excited for Juliana Stratton. I'm leaning in on the matriarchy, our Black queens. I think it's time that we all just And that's my energy right now. I'm a fat, bald white dude who rides a Harley. And any chance I get, wherever I'm at, I'm that guy proselytizing people into knowing who Juliana Stratton is. I'm also in a district that's extremely red. We have gerrymandered ourselves to a point in Illinois that the southern districts are nothing but Trump lapdogs. So Mike Bost is the other person in my district that we're looking to unseat. So anyways, I'm not like saying that, hey, look at me, but I renewed my hope because I feel like we are at this point now where we have to make the election too big to rig, right? So the first step is to go through, make sure we've got the players we like or we know we have. And then from there, full support and just tsunami blue, right? Blue tsunami this. Because after that, if it doesn't work, if there's no too big to rig and Trump starts to do his shenanigans again, after that, then it's another page we're on, I fear. But I have hope.
I agree.
So, I love you, Steve. Thanks for the hope.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate you, brother. Thanks a lot for doing the work. Have a good day. Be safe out there. From one Harley rider to another. Yeah. Motorcycle communities, whatever community you're part of, understand what's at stake. To reiterate some of the messaging that we shared last week, lobby and campaign hard for your preferred candidate. Find your down ballot progressives. Volunteer into their campaigns. Donate money if you can. Phone bank. Knock on doors, put up yard signs, whatever that might be. And when the time comes, if your candidate is not the one chosen, then you need to do what's right for your fellow human, and that is vote blue. See, James Taylor Rico came out with a message recently and said if he did not get the nomination, that he would encourage his supporters to full-throatedly support Jasmine Crockett. That's what we want. That's what we want, right? So stop with the pearl clutching. Stop with the looking for perfection. I've said this before. If we want more, I want more people involved in politics. I do. I really do. And I want more humans. Why do we feel like we need to hold our elected officials at a higher standard than we would hold ourselves? Right? We're humans. We all have flaws. We all have things that we're proud of and things that we're not proud of. If we want a true representation of the people, then we have to accept faults because we're humans. We have faults. What I want is people to say, you know what? I made this mistake in my life. I fucked up. Wasn't a good look. This is what I've done to try to make it better. These are the things that I'm doing. These are the things that I have done. I recognize the error in my ways. Isn't that what we should want? Why would we hold our elected officials to a higher standard than we would hold ourselves? That should be the goal. That should really be the goal. And that's part of what Do Something is about, right? Going out there and talking to people who are just want their lives, and more importantly, they want their children's lives to be better. Want their children to make sure that if they struggle, if they fall behind in their bills, or if they lose a job, they're not going to be destitute and out on the street. That there's a social safety net that will prop them up. That we'll have the best public education system in the world. We can fight for those kinds of things. We can be proud to say that our communities are standing in support of marginalized communities, whatever the marginalized community is. Preservation of rights, expansion of rights. I mean, I know it's so fucking radical to want women to be able to make decisions for their own bodies. Yeah, I know that's so fucking radical. And for the trans community to fucking just exist and just be left alone. How can we do that if we keep this fucking bullshit table scrap fighting? I've said this to you guys before. I'm a pragmatic progressive. Part of me is nihilistic, like tear the whole fucking thing down, right? I mean, seriously. But I understand what's at stake if we do, because I know who will get harmed the most, and I know who will rise from the ashes the first. And that is people who look like me. And I'm fucking sick of that shit. I'm sick of it. I'm so over it. I want structural change. What we're going to do tonight, we're going to see a billionaire white guy with two white guys sitting over his shoulder, speaking to predominantly white men and telling them that everything's fine here. Nothing to see. We're rich. You're rich. You're rich. You're rich. You're rich. Meanwhile, there will be fucking survivors of a global sex trafficking ring, preyed on by some of the same motherfuckers that'll probably be in that fucking room. In that fucking room. In that fucking room. There'll be survivors there. And none of those fucking cowards will stand and face any of those survivors. None. None. and we sit and we're concerned, and we're talking about fucking ballrooms. We're talking about fucking the Board of Peace. Are you kidding me? Are you angry enough? Are you angry enough? Maybe you should be. Maybe if you're not angry enough, then that's something you need to check.
Hello.
Hi.
I don't think you're angry enough, Steve.
Sometimes I wonder. Like, I'm fucking angry. But, I mean, I am. You are. I don't know if collectively we are, though.
Well, I mean, I think this goes to the statement that I've started saying. I said it on Saturday night. I was at a forum and did really well. Like, people were really impressed with what I said. And I said, losing doesn't make me afraid. I'm never going to be afraid of losing. It's voter apathy that keeps me up at night. Yeah. Because my election is winnable. And people are like, well, what are you going to do? Because the Democrats aren't going to acknowledge your race and, the party's not going to support you. It's like the point of the exercise is to flip seats, to move the needle, to continue working. All that shit, while it sucks, should not deter anyone from showing up to vote, showing up for candidates, donating to campaigns, volunteering your time. None of that should stop you. The idea, if it makes you angry that I'm not going to get support, good. Use that anger for something. If you like what I'm saying, do something about it. Because the only way we're going to flip these seats, the only way we're going to show the Republican Party, teach them a lesson, is by you showing up and you using that anger. The only thing that they're more afraid of than than those files is voter turnout. That is why they are doing voter suppression across the country. Every state is participating in this. Every Republican politician is out here talking about it, because they know that if every single voter who is disenfranchised by the Democratic Party, disenfranchised by the Republican Party, disenfranchised by what is going on in our country, and they show up to vote blue down ballot for new progressive candidates who are all over this country, we flip not only the House, we allow Democrats with a backbone into Congress. People are actually going to fight for you. And they know it, and they're scared.
They're afraid of women in particular. They're deathly afraid of women. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Thank you, Victoria. You want to plug?
Yeah, guys, I'm Victoria Broderick. I'm running for Congress in Tennessee's District 4. This is my second congressional race. I ran in 2024 as a first-time candidate with no name recognition in 5 months because I decided that my opponent could not run unopposed. And here we are. I ran a campaign in 5 months, working full-time, having 2 tiny humans, 4 fur babies, fostering with a local humane society. I managed to grow the district and raised over $120,000. If that sounds impressive, I'm about to impress you even more, because every single one of those donations came from small dollar people like you. So today, if you want to support a candidate for Congress, donate to my campaign. Get a handwritten thank you card. Donate today's date, $2 at whatever, I think it's like the 20-something, $2 and whatever cents, and get a handwritten thank you card, and know that you're supporting a candidate that does not take corporate money, does not take APAC money, is out here fighting the fight. I will continue fighting no matter what happens in this election, but I'm going to flip the seat, and I'm going to be insufferable when I do it.
Thanks, Victoria. Good to see you, friend. I'll talk to you soon. Be safe out there. You got it. Bye. Yeah. We have a press release from Governor Ayotte's office. Thank you, mods. For immediate release. Today, Governor Kelly Ayotte announced the Department of Homeland Security will not move forward with a proposed immigration and customs enforcement facility in Merrimack. During my trip to D.C. last week, I had productive discussions with Secretary Kristi Noem, and I'm pleased to announce the Department of Homeland Security will not move forward with the proposed ICE facility in Merrimack, said Governor Ayotte. I thank Secretary Noem for hearing the concerns of the town of Merrimack and for the continued cooperation between DHS and New Hampshire law enforcement to secure our northern border, keep dangerous criminals off our streets, and ensure our communities are safe. I appreciated my discussions with Governor Ayotte last week, said Department of Homeland Security Secretary Noem, quote, from banning sanctuary cities to strengthening law enforcement cooperation, New Hampshire has been a strong partner in securing our country, and we look forward to continuing our work together. That would be a win, friends. And you know why that happened? Because people spoke up. Because people said, this is fucking bullshit. They can do it in New Hampshire. They can do it anywhere. So that's a fucking win. We got to find the little victories. We have to find the moments here that keep us going because they are trying to overwhelm us by design. These fucking Yahtzees that are going to be gathered tonight are going to try to blame brown people. They're going to blame poor people. They're going to blame the trans community. They're going to blame LGBTQIA in general. They're going to blame women. They're going to blame everybody but themselves. They're going to sit there. They're going to fucking lie. So that's a little victory. So take it. Take it. All right. Let me, I've got another guest here, and then we'll get back to our programming, as they say. Good morning, friend. How are you today?
I'm good, Steve. How are you?
I'm all right. Thanks for being here. What's on your mind?
I wanted to mention to you that I wanted to see if you knew I'm a neighbor across the lake. And Plattsburgh just approved, I think a couple weeks ago, a detention center on the old base. They're turning the warehouses into detention centers.
Yeah. Yep. Across the board.
Not impressed. Not impressed at all. I didn't realize, honestly, how red this area was until last election. OMG.
Elise Stefanik. That's her district.
Tell me
up
about
there.
it. Yeah. I was glad when they booed her off the stage.
Oh, I know. That's her career's over for sure.
Thank God
but
for
you're right.
papers.
Yeah, there's red pockets everywhere. Liberal New York. You cross the lake from me, you go to northern New York from Plattsburgh north. That's all farm country up the Canadian border, and then a little bit west, like to Oswego out that way. Yep. It's bright red, and suddenly, all of a sudden, we're now attempting to build facilities up there as well. You've got the old Plattsburgh Air Force Base that's up there. A lot of real estate. Perfect spot to put a detention center, concentration
Open country
camp.
for days.
Exactly. Thanks for jumping in today, friend. I appreciate you.
You too, Steve. Love you. Take care.
All right, thanks. All right, bye. Okay, we have the case. Is this a ruling from SCOTUS? So SCOTUS is supposed to release some more rulings because, don't forget, we're still pending on the decision in the Louisiana versus Calais case, which has to do with congressional maps, voting rights, things along those lines. So we'll be watching that. Okay. Speaking of ICE, so you're going to hear the testimony now from a gentleman by the name of Ryan Schwenk. Ryan Schwenk was a former ICE official and is now considered a whistleblower. This was his testimony in front of Congress. I'm just going to play the sound for you because this tells us a lot, tells us everything that we've always known, but here he is.
Thank you, Senator Blumenthal, Representative Garcia, members of the committee. My name is Ryan Schwenk. I swore an oath to uphold the Constitution when I joined ICE on August 1st, 2021, as an assistant chief counsel. I followed that oath for 4.5 years, working side by side with ICE officers. And I followed it when I resigned on February 13th, 2026, a little over a week ago, so that I could speak to you today. I am here because I am duty-bound to report the legally required training program at the ICE Academy is deficient, defective, and broken. 5 months ago, I was asked to teach the law to new cadets at the ICE Academy in Glencoe, Georgia, where ICE is training its new, inexperienced recruits. I volunteered, those without law enforcement training, I volunteered to take on this assignment based on my experience in law enforcement oversight including at the state and local level prior to my work with ICE. On my first day, I received secretive orders to teach new cadets to violate the Constitution by entering homes without a judicial warrant. For the last 5 months, I watched ICE dismantle the training program, cutting 240 hours of vital classes from a 584-hour program. Classes that teach the Constitution, our legal system, firearms training, the use of force, lawful arrests, proper detention, and the limits of officers' authority. For example, they ceased all of the legal instructions regarding use of force. This means that cadets are not taught what it means to be objectively reasonable, the very standard which the law requires them to meet when deciding whether or not to use deadly force. Our jobs as instructors are to teach them so well that they can make split-second decisions about what they can and cannot do in life or death situations. Yet, in the name of churning out an endless stream of officers, DHS leadership has dismantled the academic and practical tests that we need to know if cadets can safely and lawfully perform their job. All to satisfy an administration demanding they train thousands of new officers before the end of the year.
This is Ryan Schwank. He was a lawyer representing ICE. His job was to train people.
DHS told the public that new cadets receive all the training they need to perform their duties, that no critical material or standards have been cut. This is a lie.
So then the question then becomes, right, this guy will then be discredited, right? Because of course, ICE just abides by the Constitution. This goes back to what we always talk about, friends, about the misinformation, disinformation, propaganda superhighway, right? Just believe what your eyes tell you, right? You can look at numerous cases, whether it be Renee Good or whether it be Alex Preddy or Keith Porter or whomever it might be. Just let your eyes let you see what we all should see. Case in point, Rick Scott had something interesting to say. And then we're going to play some sound from Byron Donald because he's running for governor in the state of Florida. This is Rick Scott, okay? He is a senator from Florida. By the way, one of the biggest welfare fraud cheats in American history, but nothing to see here though, right, MAGA? Got it. So this is Rick Scott.
No one wanted Renee Good to die or Alex Pretty, but what about Laken Riley?
Oh.
Or Jocelyn Ngari?
By the way, Rick, I want to let you know that I'm not going to say her name because I'm going to honor her parents' request. But the tokenization of a certain person who was unalived by an undocumented immigrant, they're using that as fodder again. A senator, a Republican senator, not even bothering to acknowledge the wishes of her family. So you'll just use that. What about? And do you think any of us are safe with that bullshit? Are you kidding me? Here's the statement again.
No one wanted Renee Good to die or Alex Pretty, but what about Laken Riley? Or Jocelyn Ngari or Rachel Moran, any of these individuals? What about all the rapes that we've heard about all around this country?
Rick Scott, 202-224-3121 is the congressional switchboard. You could ask for his office. You don't have to be a resident of Florida to fucking rip him a new one, right? So let me ask you a question. So why, I'll fucking write a script for you if you want. So Rick, I just listened to your testimony from last week. Are you aware that Ms. Riley's family has asked that you not use her name to score political points anymore? You fucking piece of shit. But you don't care about that, do you? Of course not, because you need it for a talking point. You need it for a talking point. You want to sit there and just mock the American public talking about protecting victims of grape? Are you fucking kidding me? Okay. Just want to make sure I heard that properly. And then speaking of Florida, this is Byron Donald. Byron Donald, running for governor for the state of Florida. He's asked some very pointed questions about the Jeffrey files. Listen to his answer.
Enemies on the face of this planet, and that is the Chinese Communist Party, and that is the Muslim Brotherhood and radical Sharia.
So he calls the Chinese Communist Party and the radical Muslim Brotherhood as the biggest threats. Okay.
Right now we have a lot of people in government who have hindered the transparency on the Epstein files that have been released. For example, Howard Lutnick was caught lying about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Would you be willing to call for his resignation? Pam Bondi violated the Epstein Transparency Act, and she was already caught redacting Leslie Wexner's name. And Kash Patel perjured himself in a sworn testimony to Congress, saying that Epstein had no evidence of trafficking women to individuals, but we know that's not true. So would you plan to call for their impeachment as well, along with Howard Lutnick's resignation?
Okay, so in case you didn't hear this, right? So this reporter asked, listen, would you be willing to call for the resignation and or impeachment of Howard Lutnick because he lied? Of Pam Bondi because she lied? Kash Patel because he lied? So this is the gentleman who's running to be the governor of Florida. Asked specifically if those people should either resign and or be impeached because they flat out fucking lied. Here's his answer.
No.
No.
And let me be very clear as to why. I wanted the Epstein files released. I did not sign the discharge because I think signing discharges is not the way you go about this business.
Okay.
But I wanted them released. When the vote came to the floor, I voted for them to be released. In Florida, if there's probable cause, we will investigate those individuals, but there has to be a deliberate criminal justice investigation and indictment strategy and then potentially conviction. We don't do justice by social media. Remember I talked about the law, Frederic Bastiat, 1850 France? That's what they did, and it destroyed their country. I do not support pedophiles. I want them all to be held accountable to the highest extent of the law.
What?
But it has to be by the law.
But? Did you just say but? Okay.
Not by the whims of men. I don't know if anybody remembers this time period in American history. You guys probably remember. I think you're old enough now. The Me Too era. Oh yeah, this guy. Was that justice?
Oh.
And I'm not protecting people who are sexualizing women, intimidating women, because I think that's filthy, disgusting.
That's exactly what the fuck you're doing, Byron. 202-224-3121. He's still a representative. Feel free.
Wrong. But we have a system of justice for a reason. And the hardest thing in a nation like ours is to resist the urge to fight for the purge. That is the harder thing to do. But that's what restraint means. Our system of justice and our system of government is supposed to be stable and even-handed. It is not supposed to move at the whims of the algorithm.
Jesus.
It's not designed to do that. And I will tell you unapologetically, if that's where we go, America will not last another 250 years.
America won't last another 250 years because of people like you pathetic piece of shit. You just victim blamed, Byron. You literally just victim blamed. Oh, listen, I'm not going to defend predators, but the Me Too movement, you just blamed women again. Shocker. Shocker.
And if America doesn't last, watch out. Because you think the Chinese care about Jeffrey Epstein?
Oh, nice pivot.
Because let's be 100% crystal clear. We have two real enemies on the face of this planet.
Oh.
And that is the Chinese Communist Party, and that is the Muslim Brotherhood and radical Sharia.
You know what? I will take my chances with the Chinese Communist Party and the Brotherhood as long as we can get rid of the fucking predators in our government and people like you, Byron, who are defending them. That's Byron Donald. He's running for governor in Florida. Florida, what are you going to do? Blue dots in Florida. What are you going to do? Are you going to show up? Are you going to show up? He's playing in your face. He wants to tell you, you know what? Yeah, I don't think we should impeach them, or they shouldn't have to resign because of the Chinese Communist Party and the Islamic Brotherhood. And you know what? The Me Too movement. Yeah. Got it. I just got a flag, so let me play this. Hang on a second. Everybody keep tapping, please.
TikTok. It is our intention during these live broadcasts to only provide fact-based information to the absolute best of our ability. We strive to never spread misinformation or to platform those that do. Opinions of our guests or commenters are theirs and theirs alone and do not reflect those of the host. Hate speech is not allowed, and we are diligent about policing it. This platform is for educational purposes only. We now return you to our regularly scheduled pandemonium, already in progress.
Sorry, dance break. I need everybody to tap like crazy, please. They're coming for us, friends. Bring it. Fucking bring it. Yeah, I didn't realize I had my own gift too, but it showed up the other day. Anyway, it's Byron Donald. So Florida, currently you are represented by Rick Scott, who wants to basically tokenize Ms. Riley, even though her family said, do not use her name anymore. And they're going to do it every day. And Byron Donald, who basically said, yeah, I'm just going to victim blame. Yeah, we're trying to get David Jolly on the show, actually, because he's running. Former Republican, now running as a Democrat. Trying to get him on the show. So if anybody knows anybody in David Jolly's campaign office, please reach out. That's who represents you, Florida. Marco Rubio is the Secretary of State. That's who represents you. Makes me so fucking angry. Okay. Shifting gears a little bit. One of the things that's frustrated so many of us as we are at day 67 of the federal government breaking the law and not releasing the Trump files is because other countries, other industries, other communities are taking this seriously. Excuse me. Because they see what's at stake. We just learned recently, that former Prince Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, was arrested for the first time in 400 years. An arrest of a royal was made. Former UK Ambassador Mandelson released on bail after arrest and Epstein probe. Police in Britain say Peter Mandelson, the former UK ambassador to the US, has been released on bail after he was arrested in a misconduct probe stemming from his ties to the late trafficker J.E. It came days after a friendship with Epstein landed the former Prince Andrew in police custody. A Metropolitan Police spokesperson said in a statement issued just after 2 a.m., Erica, if you're in here, would you mind coming up? I want to ask your questions. I want to ask you a question specifically about how this is all landing on the other side of the pond. A Metropolitan Police spokesperson said in a statement issued just after 2 a.m. Tuesday, a 72-year-old man arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public office has been released on bail pending further investigation. That is, in fact, Peter Mandelson. The man was not named in keeping with British police practice, but the suspect in the case previously was identified as the former diplomat who is 72. Mandelson was filmed being led from his London home to a car by plainclothes officers on Monday. Both Mandelson and Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, the former prince, are suspected of improperly passing UK government information to the disgraced US financier, and the high-profile British arrests are some of the most dramatic fallout from the trove of the more than 3 million pages of documents released so far by the US Justice Department. Police are investigating Mandelson over claims that he passed sensitive government information to Jeffrey in a decade and a half ago. He does not face allegations of sexual misconduct. So Al Capone went to jail for tax evasion. Okay, I don't care. Put these fucker monsters behind bars. His arrest came 4 days after Mountbatten Windsor was arrested in a separate case on suspicion of a similar offense related to his friendship with J.E. He was released after 11 hours in custody while the police investigation continues. Mandelson served in a senior government role under a previous Labour government and was UK ambassador to Washington until Prime Minister Keir Starmer fired him in September after emails were published showing that he maintained a friendship with Epstein after the financier's 2008 conviction for offenses involving a minor. The files released in January contain more explosive revelations about Mandelson's ties to Epstein, whom he once called, quote, my best pal. Messages suggest that Mandelson passed on sensitive and potentially market-moving government information to Epstein in 2009 when Mandelson was a senior minister in the British government. Follow the fucking money. Children, teenage girls, boys, they're just collateral damage so that we can continue to enrich ourselves. Nothing to see here. Torture, abuse, disappearing, etc., etc., etc. Experimentation, genetic modification. That's fine. Hey, you see my stock portfolio? The Dow's at 50,000? Yeah. This includes an internal government report discussing ways the UK could raise money after the 2008 global financial crisis, including by selling off government assets. Nothing to see here. Mandelson also appears to have told Epstein he would lobby other members of the government to reduce a tax on bankers' bonuses. We have to figure out a way for bankers to make more money. Got it. British police launched a criminal probe earlier this month and searched Mandelson's 2 houses in London and Western England. Oh, 2 houses. Okay, that's fine. That's good to know you have 2. The decision to appoint Mandelson nearly cost Starmer his job earlier this month as questions swirled around his judgment about someone who has flirted with controversy during a decades-long political career. Though he acknowledged he made a mistake and apologized to victims of Epstein, Starmer's position remains precarious. His future may rest on the release of files connected to Mandelson's appointment. The government has pledged to begin releasing those documents in early March, though the timeline may be complicated by his arrest. Mandelson has been a major, if contentious, figure in the center-left Labour Party for decades. He is a skilled, critics say ruthless, political operator whose mastery of political intrigue earned him the nickname the Prince of Darkness. Okay. The grandson of former Labour cabinet minister Herbert Morrison, he was an architect of the party's return to power in 1997 as a centrist, modernizing the new Labour under Prime Minister Tony Blair, who's also got deep connections to this whole fucking world. Mandelson served in senior government posts under Blair between 1997 and 2001 and under Prime Minister Gordon Brown from 2008 to 2010. In between, he was the European Union's trade commissioner. Brown also has been particularly angered by the revelations and has been helping police with their inquiries. Mandelson twice had to resign from government during the Blair administration over allegations of financial or ethical impropriety, acknowledging mistakes but denying wrongdoing. So once again, other countries around the world holding people accountable. Not here. Nope, not here. And friends, you know why, right? You know why. The reason is because if the Department of Justice decided to bring charges and or arrest people for questioning, then they're going to find they're basically attempting to deny the guilt or alleged guilt of anybody involved. Because you can't bring in people who are alleged to have committed the exact same crimes that the president has without bringing the president in. Don't forget, we have sworn witness testimony under threat of perjury, names signed to affidavits alleging criminality against the president. Similarly, same witness statements and testimony used to convict Ghislaine Maxwell. So how would you like to proceed through that? Do you want to follow somebody else's lead? Want to look at other countries and how they're responding? Why are other countries arresting people who are connected to this in ways that aren't even as egregious as what our president and members of our cabinet have done? And yet there are people here defending it. The same people that are defending these fucking monsters in our country are saying that food isn't a right. Okay. Okay, that's fine. Nothing to see here. Do I want to do this now? Let me see here. Give me a second. I'm trying to reorganize a little bit. Everybody keep tapping, please. Tapping is clapping. Liking is loving, and sharing is caring. All right, I'm going to hear from Annie Farmer now. Annie Farmer, a sister to Maria Farmer. Annie Farmer, an outspoken survivor of JE, and she brings some receipts. So I just want to listen to her speak, and we should all pay attention and listen.
Surrounding this case, I just want to remind people of some of the facts. In 1996, my sister Maria bravely blew the whistle on this group by reporting to the FBI what Epstein and Maxwell did to both of us. They hung up the phone on her, and there was no follow-up of any kind. Bill Clinton was president.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you for having me on, Aaron. I really appreciate it because I need to.
So that was Annie talking about the timeline. The first allegations, Bill Clinton was president. She's highlighting that. This is why we're talking about anybody and everybody connected to this. Anybody and everybody involved in the cover-up. Anybody and everybody denying survivor testimonies. Anybody and everybody who turned a blind eye because it might be a little bit uncomfortable for some of their friends. Okay? So Maria Farmer was dragged through the fucking mud because of some of her allegations. And shocker, every single one of them proven to be true. Proven to be true. So now you're going to hear Maria Farmer.
To say up front that I've waited 3 decades to be able to even be heard. And it's dark. Like there's no light on in the offices. This man walks in a business suit, kind of tall, imposing. And I immediately was like, that's Donald Trump. What's he doing here? I'm supposed to be working for Epstein and interviewing with him. Why is Donald Trump here? He walked up about, a few feet from me and just stood over me in a very imposing way and looked at me like he was in on some secret or something. And I felt threatened, so I made an ugly face. And when I made that ugly face, Epstein walked out from the offices on this side. Trump's standing here, I'm here. And he walks out of his office and he goes, oh, no. He was laughing at me. And he goes, she's not here for you. Follow me, right? And he escorts him in to this other room. And I always wondered, who was she in there? I have to say that when I made that ugly face, he backed off. It wasn't like he was aggressive after that, but he made a really vulgar comment. He made a joke to Epstein, oh, I thought she was 16. And I thought that was so strange because at the time my sister was 15 actually.
In 2006, the FBI came to us, finally interviewed us, and asked
This is Annie now.
us both to be witnesses against Epstein. We were very anxious, but we agreed. And then we didn't hear back from them due to their infamous sweetheart deal. George W. Bush was president. In 2015, when the DOJ was sent a FOIA request for Maria's FBI files, and they were denied, as they have been many times, Barack Obama was president. In 2019, when Epstein died in prison due to either negligence or foul play, Donald Trump was president.
I found something in the Epstein files. I came across something I was in some ways looking for, which is a directive from the FBI to New York law enforcement authorities to stand down their investigation into Epstein. What's even more remarkable about this directive is that it also applied to the Special Victims Unit, which is a part of the NYPD that is specially trained and equipped to investigate.
So should we not believe that either? Conservatives, MAGA, pro-lifers, protectors of women and children, defenders, right? No men and women sports, that crowd, right? Should we just not believe them either? What she did there, what Annie Farmer did, was to say, this goes back to the Bush administration. This goes back to Clinton. This went through the Bush administration again. This went through Barack Obama's administration. This went to Donald Trump's administration. Everybody. Do you understand? Everybody Now, if you feel like you need to jump on the wagon and say, well, why didn't Biden release? Fine. Go ahead. Just please try to apply the same energy to the fact that there's now a law. If you weren't so concerned, or if you were the most transparent administration in U.S. history, then why the fuck are you covering shit up? We see you. Are you going to be people like us who believe survivors, or do you want to be people like Byron Donald, who says, yeah, the whole Me Too movement, yeah, or Mike Johnson, well, you know, we got to make sure that we investigate these crimes, or the president of the fucking United States, or Kash Patel when he says, oh, Epstein only trafficked girls to himself. Howard Nutlick fucking lied about his relationship. Pam Bondi would not face survivors. She lied about it. She lied about all of it. Again, what side of history would you like to be on? How would you like to be remembered? Shouldn't be that complicated, should it? Maybe it is. Ask yourself why. I've talked about this before. Imagine your grandchildren someday. It's 20 years in the future. And they're rummaging around up in your attic. And they find your MAGA hat. It's in a box. You know, it's in a box with your tie bow and I just dated myself and a bunch of other shit, you know, relics of the past. And they come downstairs and they kick the dust off. And they say, Peepaw, I saw this hat. And I was just learning in history, since Democrats took over the education system, we now have the best education system in the world. I learned in my history class that a lot of people who wore these hats were connected to people who wore white hoods and brown shirts, etc. And I've heard a lot of people who wore these hats didn't believe women. Were you one of those people, Peepaw? What are you going to say? What are you going to say then? What are you going to say? You're going to lie and say, oh, I absolutely did. Oh, okay, then why did you keep the hat, Peepaw? I did, Melissa. I did say Tybo, yes. Are you going to lie about that? Again, then why did you keep the hat? Why is the flag folded so neatly with Trump Vance on it, tucked in a corner under the shrine? Are you going to lie about that too? Because history does not forget. And I can tell you, as long as I'm on this fucking planet, I am never going to stop reminding everybody that I see who has any kind of connection to support of the fucking predator ring. I will shame you. I will embarrass you. I will make you feel so fucking small and weak, more than you already are. And I will do it again, and I will do it again, and I will do it again. Women don't need me to defend them. They don't. But I will stand fucking shoulder to shoulder as long as I'm allowed. I can tell you that. Because I am so fucking done with this shit. But I'll be here every fucking day talking about it. I'll be out on the road talking about it. I'll be making videos about it. I'll be getting in some fucking good trouble. Because I am so fucking done with this. And we're going to listen to more bullshit and fucking lies tonight. You're going to hear him talk about, he's going to talk about transgender for everyone, men and women sports, illegals, blah, fucking blah. And then there's going to be survivors in the audience looking at him say it. And he's the guy that in many, many cases is assaulted, raped, and maybe in many cases, depending on the information, disappeared members of that predator network. And those survivors are going to be there. I'm not a fan, to be honest, of them being used as political pawns. If they want to be there, it is their choice. I'm not a big fan of that, but I respect their wishes. But he's going to sit there, and there's people around him, the protectors of predators, are going to sit there and fucking just mock these people, try to come up with bullshit, try to come up with a lie, a spin, going to talk about the booming economy You're going to talk about gas prices? You're going to talk about inflation? You're going to talk about the stock markets at 50,000? Okay. Just remember that, right? Just remember that. Just remember that scenario I just described. Your children, your children's children. You know, you're 85 years old. You may not have much time left. You know, you're hoping the sins of the sins of your past might go away. And they come downstairs with that MAGA hat. Or they come downstairs with that flag of Trump flying a pterodactyl. And they're going to ask you some questions. Why do you still have this? I read about how MAGA was all about taking away rights from people, and January 6th, and people were pardoned because of violent crimes against the Constitution. I thought you were a patriot, Peepaw. I mean, you've got the Punisher American flag tattoo on your shoulder. Okay. Just remember that. Think that through a little bit. Peepaw, did you vote against food for people? Why? Because why? I didn't. Okay. Dr. LOL, how are you today? Hello? Doctor, are you there? Dr. LOL, are you there? I guess not. It should not be that difficult. It really shouldn't. If that's where you are, then I don't know what else to tell you. Because that's the cross you're going to have to bear. Pamela, how are you?
Oh, I didn't mean.
Oh, goodbye. Sorry. Yeah, the doctor is not in. That is true. Okay. I covered that. Covered Mr. Gonzalez. Covered bitch boy trying to lie again to the American public about his concern about investigations into criminality. Because we have this concurrent theme that runs for our show about follow the fucking money. Here's another example. Okay, so this is Lara Trump interviewing Steve Witkoff. For those of you who don't know, Steve Witkoff is the sort of an emissary. He doesn't have an official government position. He just sort of negotiates on behalf of the Trump family, not the American public. The Trump family and his own family as they enrich themselves to the tune of billions of dollars, right? So he's being interviewed by Lara, and I just want you to hear this fucking bullshit.
Board members here at the Board of Peace pledged $7 billion for the reconstruction in Gaza, and then the president went above and beyond as usual and added an extra $10 billion on top of that, Steve. So what does that look like? What are we going to see come out of that money?
It's going to jumpstart us. We're going to have housing and mass transportation, and we're going to be able to clear and demolish all the areas there and get it ready for a renaissance. And I think this is just the beginning, Larry. I think today it's 17, tomorrow it could be 34.
And they joke about it. Today it's 17, tomorrow it could be $34 billion for investments by the Board of Peace to revitalize Gaza. Transportation, an infrastructure network, hotels, golf courses. Does that sound like America first? Is that how you want your taxpayer dollars to go? Oh, you don't care. These people here, Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, negotiators on behalf of themselves and their families' interests, not on behalf of innocent people. Don't forget, it was the Russian government that fed information to Witkoff of things that they would like to see in the Ukraine-Russia peace deal. And then see Witkoff then speaking on behalf of, or I don't know, in support of fascism, went back and negotiated with them and say, listen, these are the things that you should tell Donald to make him happy. And of course, then the story gets leaked and here we are. So they're talking about these economic development zones in eastern Ukraine and Russia and western Russia. Who benefits from that, friends? Who benefits? Russia certainly does, right? And the investors do. And the investors do. And people like Larry, People like Larry have been conned because Larry's not very smart. Larry's up in his feelings all the time. Larry thinks the threat, just like Byron Donald told you, is the Chinese Communist Party and the Islamic Brotherhood. You know what I think the threat is, Larry? I think the threat is people like you, because you are too blind to see what's happening. You don't care about your country, Larry. You don't. You don't care. You will sit by and allow this level of corruption like we have never seen before right in our fucking face, and you'll be like, what about Biden? Biden made $10 million from a book. What about Hunter's cock? Okay. So I want you to think about the future, Larry. God, I hope you don't have kids. But if you do, I want you to think about the future. I want you to go through the scenario that I just gave you, right? Your grandchild or whomever it might be. Oh, Larry got permanently banned from RTP? Shocker. Shocker. Wow. Shocker. So think about that scenario, Larry. Larry, did you come in here think you're going to find a safe space? No. Nope. Mods, would you mind taking out the trash, please? Thank you. Appreciate you. Maybe let the chat eat for a second and then take out the trash. Because that's what we do here, Larry. How do you want to be remembered, Larry? Thank you, Jess. Bye-bye, Larry. You have a day. Okay, I've got a few other things I want to cover, but somebody just shared this with me. This is Jim Comer. What's he got to say here? He was on Maria Bartiromo's show. This was this morning as they're prepping for the State of the Union tonight. What does he have to say?
But look, I support the president. We're going to do, in my congressional office in Kentucky, I'm going to do whatever the president wants to move his agenda forward. Yeah. And I know Mike Johnson and Steve Scalise are trying very hard to get the votes. And I think the president's going to address this tariff situation tonight in his speech, along with many other issues like health care. But look, I support the president. I'm going to do whatever the president wants. Now, I understand about the political science side of it, saying, sure, the president has an agenda, but I'm going to do whatever the president wants. Anybody in here today, the 2,000 people that are here, by the way, if we started the dollar train right now, we could take a massive bite out of our goal here. I'll just throw that out there. Anybody in here right now represented by James Comer? Anybody? Doesn't matter. 202-224-3121. You could call his office, that fucking piece of shit, and say, so I hear that you would just do whatever the president told you to do? Are you a eunuch? You've got tiny nuts. You certainly don't have a vagina because you're not fucking tough enough to have one of those. That's for sure. So you'll just sit there and fucking simp. 202-224-3121. Again, 202-224-3121. Put it on your speed dial. Put it in your Rolodex. Yes, I said that. Call him up. May I speak to James Comer's office, please? Then do the passive aggressive. Yes, I appreciate you going on news shows, and I appreciate you, the work you do. But I have a question for you. Are you that feckless? Are you that feckless that you're going to sit there and say you'll do whatever the president wants? Really? Really? This is a do something moment, friends. Doesn't have to be your rep. Can be anybody. Find one. Put a few on your dartboard. Give yourself the Ted Lasso moment and put them on the dartboard. Who the fuck am I going to call today? I could give you a list a mile fucking long. Right? Do it. Today's a great day. They're going to have their full staffs are going to be there because they're all going to be on Capitol Hill. 202-224-3121. Let your voices be heard. It's a perfect example of do something. All right. A few other things here. We touched on this story a little bit last week about the some relationships
the presidents had with staffers. In the files, there is this is from Michael Wolff to JE, dated March 11th, 2019. In one of the emails captured, there's a line that's been highlighted. It says, now the president was telling friends that he wasn't staying at the White House because of the shutdown. He was actually staying because he was, quote, banging Madeleine. Okay. Madeleine Westerhott, a young White House aide who served as President Trump's personal secretary and gatekeeper, sitting just outside the Oval Office and controlling access to the president, she was considered one of Trump's most trusted staffers, handling his calls, his schedule, his correspondence during his first term. In August 2019, Westerhout resigned because she had shared personal information about the president's family and Oval Office operations at an off-the-record dinner with reporters near Trump's golf course in Bedminster, New Jersey. After a couple of drinks, she allegedly boasted that she had a closer relationship with Trump than he had with his daughters and made comments about Tiffany Trump's weight and appearance. A reporter then divulged details about the dinner to White House staff, which led to Westerhout being forced to resign. No shade on her. Victimized by men in power. No doubt. So we also have this other story of another woman, similarly. Party of Christian values, right? Don't forget, Trump cheated on his first wife with his, first of all, he raped his first wife, cheated on his first wife with his second wife, cheated on his second wife with his third wife, cheated on his third wife with a corn star and a few other people. And now multiple allegations, rumors of more infidelity. Nothing to see here, though, right? It's totally fine. Okay, just making sure. I'm just going down the list, making sure we've got it all covered. These are people who just constantly claim to be in support of traditional, Christian values. So the question I ask, and listen, I am. Some people would, I won't. I'm not going to judge your faith. What I'll judge, though, is your hypocrisy. That's what I will judge. Are all these things just rumors? Is all of it untrue? Every single claim made, none of them are true, right? None of them. I just want to make sure. Yeah, we know, American Ninja. You don't give a shit about anything, right? You don't care about anything, American Ninja. That's the point. You've been so fucking brainwashed that you don't give a shit about anything. Nothing. You don't care. You don't care about children. You don't care about women. You don't care about any of it. You don't care about men and women's sports. You don't give a fuck. You don't care about any of it. All you care is if you get your fifis stroked. You can stare up at the wall at your posters of Trump and Stephen Miller and get all up in your fucking shit, go over in the corner, spank your micro dick, and call it a success. Yeah, I said that. Well, that kind of leads me to this story that The Atlantic broke. The Atlantic has been doing some incredible journalistic work recently. I would encourage you guys to subscribe if you can do that. The title of the story, this is to be released in the April edition. The Republican Party has a Yahtzee problem. How did the GOP become a haven for slogans and ideas straight out of the Third Reich? I'll pause there briefly because I want to play you some sound from the propaganda minister, Joseph Goebbels, Stephen Miller. This is Stephen Miller talking about American education system.
Taught to love America. Children will be taught to be patriots. Children will be taught civic values for schools that want federal taxpayer funding. So as we close the Department of Education and we provide funding to states, we are going to make sure that these funds are not being used to promote communist ideology. For any nation to be successful, it cannot teach its children to hate themselves and to hate their country. So these are a few of the areas in which President Trump has fought the cancerous communist woke culture that was destroying this country, where we were led to believe that men were women, that women were men, that racial discrimination was good, that merit was bad, and that safety and physical security mattered less than the feelings of liberal ideologues.
Stephen Miller, a.k.a. Anal Polyp. You heard it. You heard it. And again, you wonder why we make these comparisons to the Reich and to Nazi Germany in the 1930s? That's why. That's why. So all of this, all of the things that we talked about today, the brainwashing, don't ignore what we are doing here. We'll tell you what we're doing is different than what you actually see. Concentration camps, going after institutions, the press, identifying people who just disagree with you politically as domestic terrorists, right? That's because, again, reporting from the Atlantic, Republican Party has a Yahtzee problem. I won't read you the whole story. We'll post it in the chat. But this is the intro. Over the past few months, during his agency's chaotic crackdowns in Chicago and Minneapolis, U.S. Border Patrol Chief Greg Bovino has worn an unusual uniform. I'll see if I think I still have that picture. Probably do. You guys might remember this. See if I can find it. Yeah. Here you go. Remember that? Remember Greg Bovino before he got, dismissed? Yeah. That's just a coincidence, right? Because everybody I know wears a jacket that's very similar to a certain mustached individual from the 1930s. Nothing to see here. That is just a coincidence. This one too, right? The straps over the shoulder. Yeah, that's just a coincidence. Nothing to see here. Totally fine. It's all good. Don't worry. Nothing to see. Nothing to see. U.S. Border Chief Greg Bovino has worn an unusual uniform, a wide lapel greatcoat with brass buttons and stars along one sleeve. It looks like it was taken right off the shoulders of the Wehrmacht in 1930s Germany. Bovino's choice of garment is more than just tough guy cosplay. German media noted the aesthetic immediately. So the German media, funny, the German media calls it out like, that's fucking weird. That's wild. The coat symbolizes a trend. The Republicans, it seems, have a bit of a Nazi problem. By this, I mean this. By the way, this story is written by, I want to give journalistic credit where its credit is due. This is by Tom Nichols from The Atlantic. By this, I mean that some Republicans are deploying Yahtzee imagery and rhetoric. Are they? And espouse ideas associated with the Nazi Party during its rise to power in the early 1930s. A few recent examples. An ICE lawyer linked to a white supremacist social media account that praised Schmittler was apparently allowed to return to federal court. Members of the National Young Republican Organization were caught in a group chat laughing about their love of Schmittler. Vice President J.D. Vance shrugged off that controversy. Instead of condemning the growing influence of anti-Semites in his party, in December at a Turning Point USA conference, Vance said, "I didn't bring a list of conservatives to denounce or to deplatform." Okay, even federal agencies are modeling Yahtzee phrasing. The Department of Homeland Security issued an anthem beloved by neo-Yahtzee groups, quote, "By God, we'll have our home again." I did an entire show about this, right? So just want to throw that out there that we've been on this story for a very fucking long time, okay? The Department of Homeland Security used an anthem beloved by neo-Yahtzee groups, quote, "By God, we'll have our home again," in a recruitment ad. The Labor Department hung a giant banner of Trump's face from its headquarters as if Washington were Berlin in 1936 and posted expressions on social media such as, "America is for Americans." An obvious riff off the Yahtzee slogan, "Germany is for Germans," and Americanism will prevail, in a front reminiscent of Third Reich documents. One of us, all of us? Happy with that, American Ninja? Okay. Trump, of course, openly pines to be a dictator. In his first term, he reportedly told his chief of staff, General John Kelly, that he, quote, "wished he had generals who were as loyal as Hitler's military leaders." The president was perhaps unaware of how often the Führer's officers tried to unalive him. More recently, the White House's official X account supported Trump's pursuit of Greenland by posting a meme with the caption, "Which way, Greenland, man?" That is not merely a clunky turn of phrase. It's an echo of Which Way, Western Man, the title of a 1978 book by the American neo-Yahtzee William Gailey Simpson, a former Presbyterian minister who called for America to expel its Jewish citizens. The people pushing such trash are offended by the accusation that they're pantomiming Yahtzees. How many lives have you frequented or scrolled by when we see it's typically beta, weak ass beta Republican MAGA men? They're the ones that scream the loudest. All you guys do is drive around and walk around and go to your lives and you call us fucking Yahtzees. Yeah, well, if the fucking jackboots fit, dumbass. I don't know what to tell you. You don't want to be equated with Yahtzees. I wouldn't either. Well, stop doing Yahtzee fucking shit. How about that? Maybe just stop doing that. Yeah, American Ninja, I don't bring people into my space here that has got Groiper references in their profile pic. Yeah, no. No, you're not welcome here, okay? This is about progress, not about your fucking hate. So no, you don't get to speak here. You can go sit in the fucking corner with the rest of your jackbooted thugs, and you can circle jerk your way to fascist freedoms, okay? Just glad we could clear that up. Thanks. The people pushing such trash are offended by the accusation that they are pantomiming Yahtzees. If you're offended by being called a Yahtzee, real simple, stop being a fucking Yahtzee. Seriously, you don't like it, then stop being a Yahtzee. You don't want to be called a grape apologist? Well, stop apologizing for grapists. Or better yet, dudes, how about you stop just raping women? That might help. Let's maybe start there. Okay. Calling everything you dislike Yahtzee propaganda is tiresome, a DHS spokesperson told Politico. But even when Laura Loomer, conspiracy theorist and ardent Trump supporter, says on social media that, quote, the GOP has a Yahtzee problem, then perhaps the GOP has a Yahtzee problem. As a former Republican, I'm aware that the American conservative movement has spent generations fighting off intrusions from the far right, including the John Birches and the KKK, but I'm still surprised and aggrieved by how quickly 21st century Yahtzeeism has found a home in the party of Lincoln. In 1991, President George H.W. Bush repudiated the former KKK leader David Duke, who was running as a Republican to be Louisiana's governor. Today, Trump and his party haven't bothered to even pretend to be appalled by the degenerates gathering under the GOP aegis. Wow. So how did a major American political party become a safe space for such people? When I first joined the GOP in 1979, the party around me did not seem hospitable to Yahtzees. A liberal black Republican, Edward Brooke, had just finished 2 terms as junior senator from Massachusetts. The liberal Republicans, Lowell Weicker and John Chavey, represented Connecticut and Rhode Island, respectively. In college, I worked in the Massachusetts State House for our hometown representative, a young and principled working-class Democrat. My GOP membership was not a disqualifier. Imagine that. I got to know Republican legislators on Beacon Hill because they were close friends with my Democratic boss. Party affiliations were about political disagreements among Americans, not markers of antithetical worldviews. I, like many, a resolute ticket splitter, voting often for local Democrats but always for Republican presidents, because I believed the national GOP was a moderate institution. And it kind of was prior to Reagan. Ronald Reagan, for example, disappointed the far right and his evangelical base by reducing nuclear weapons, leaving abortion rights largely untouched, and granting mass amnesty to undocumented immigrants, something I objected to at the time. So, MAGA, I don't know if you caught that, but Ronald Reagan, who oftentimes Trump likes to compare himself to, granted mass amnesty to immigrants. Was Ronald Reagan a rhino? Did I miss the memo? I'm not sure. I might have missed that. I might have missed that memo. Yeah, Ninja, you're leaving. You can go bye-bye. Like I said, we took out the trash. I first encountered the fringe elements of the conservative base in 1990 when I went to work in the U.S. Senate for John Hines of Pennsylvania. I remember fielding an angry phone call from a constituent who grilled me about whether the senator was part of a globalist, one-world government conspiracy. The country and the GOP were in the hands of Bush, the ultimate moderate, but extremists were making inroads to power. the populist demagogue Pat Buchanan, crusading against modernity and multiculturalism, challenged Bush in 1992 and garnered 23% of the Republican primary vote. Bush, in turn, gave him the stage at the Republican National Convention in Houston. Buchanan's speech, which envisioned a religious war for the country, shocked many Americans. So think about that. His speech is relatively famous. It was fucking tame as shit compared to what we hear today. A few years later, Rep. Newt Gingrich of Georgia carried Buchanan's culture war into the House. For Gingrich, politics was solely about winning. His scorched earth approach treated opponents as enemies and compromise as treason. He wanted votes and wasn't concerned about who was animated by his viciousness. Gingrich was eventually driven from the speakership. Buchanan left the Republican Party to run under the Reform Party and then faded from public life. But an example had been set of welcoming extremism, extreme ideology, extreme tactics for the sake of winning. Republicans, just I know you're in here. This is a Republican, former Republican speaking to you. He's a student of history. He went back and said, well, there's this, there's this, there's this, there's this, there's this, and we need to address it. But people like Robert cares about his 401k. Good to know, Robert. So glad you cared so much about your country. Appreciate that. Robert. Gingrich was eventually driven from the party, and it's all about winning. Later, Republican presidential nominees, good men such as John McCain and Mitt Romney, represented the moderate coalition that had brought people like him, like the author, into the party. As they stood in the center of the GOP tent, they began to see who was now lurking in the back. In 2008, the nation saw two. When McCain had to defend Barack Obama as a decent family man to a delusional town hall participant who had obviously imbibed racist right-wing propaganda. John McCain was a good man. Mitt Romney, a decent man. You know, again, moderates. Okay? Think about that. That was not even 20 years ago. John McCain on the campaign trail, campaigning against Barack Obama in a Republican-friendly town hall. And people were saying, I don't trust Barack Obama because he's an Arab. Or he wasn't born here. And McCain's like, no, we just disagree politically. He's a family man. He's a good man. He's a decent man. We just disagree. And today's MAGA movement thinks that John McCain, a war hero, a guy that was served, had a chance to be released from a Vietnamese prison, instead said, no, I'm staying because my comrades, my brothers in arms can't be released too. That guy is demonized by today's Republican Party because he didn't call the black man anything other than a decent man. Imagine that. Cindy McCain asked Barack Obama to eulogize him. And he did. And he did. And he spoke with conviction, and he spoke with compassion, and he said, listen, we would get in arguments about how we disagreed on policies, but he's a good man. I trusted him. I supported him. I would have campaigned for him. John McCain. I don't know if he's ever going to get enough credit, to be honest, for saving healthcare for millions of Americans. That simple gesture, right? Remember that? With Mitch McConnell, the fucking turtle, standing over him, hovering over him. No. Nope. But no, that's not good enough. That's not good enough for today's Republican Party. Soon after McCain's loss to Obama, the Tea Party movement barreled into American politics. I was among those appalled by the Tea Party's juvenile public behavior and anti-government nihilism. Others believed they represented a new grassroots movement and the future of the party. In the end, their revolt against government bailouts soured into a giant yawp of anger at the first black president. Shocker. By the time Romney was running against Obama in 2012, Trump had launched his political career by pushing the birther lie, which capitalized on racial animus toward the 44th president. Rather than to try to push Trump out of the tent, Romney accepted his endorsement. McCain came to be viewed as a traitor by the Republican base. Trump made that permissible by mocking his war hero status. I prefer my heroes don't get captured. In his third run for office, Trump expanded his vote share despite embracing fascist themes of xenophobia, nationalism, and glorification of violence. I didn't want to see what was happening to the Republican Party until the durability of Donald Trump made it impossible to ignore. Was this a radical, unpredictable metamorphosis, or was a fascist tendency latent in the DNA of the party? To better understand the GOP in the years before I joined it, I arranged a Zoom call with Stuart Stevens, a native Mississippian and former Republican operative. Stevens, several years older than I am, joined the Republicans in his youth rather than segregationist local Democrats, then bolted from the party because of Trump. I asked Stevens to tell me when and where the GOP went wrong, and whether the de-evolution into a haven for the Yahtzees was inevitable. For Stevens, racism is the original sin of the modern Republican Party. White voters were alienated by the passage of the Civil Rights Act in 1964 and the violence around the 1968 Democratic primaries. As black voters deserted Republicans, the segregationist George Wallace proved with his 1968 presidential run that white Southerners were up for grabs. Richard Nixon made a cunning and cynical calculation to sweep up those disaffected white voters using appeals to law and order to stoke racial anxiety. Nixon made a cunning and cynical calculation to sweep up those disaffected white voters, appealing to law and order to stoke racial anxiety. By the 1970s, the GOP was the de facto white party in the United States. Now, again, thank you guys. Thank you. Again, MAGA, I know you don't know your history, okay? We've talked about the party split, the party switch. We've talked about the Southern strategy. This is another example of it. We know what the ideologically differences are. We know why Democrats move north and Republicans stayed in the South. Who carries the Confederate flag now? Who embraces white supremacy? Who has members of the Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, those Patriot Front, the tiny dick clubs, those guys? They're the ones that vote Republican these days, aren't they? Yeah, just walk around and just look at remember this? I remember this famous quote by Kevin McCarthy after he served his time as House Speaker. He was being interviewed. He said, I look out over the House chamber and I see the Democrat Party, which looks like America. It looks like America, well represented, diverse. Then I look over at the Republicans and it's like an exclusive country club. In other words, bright fucking white. Funny. Nixon and Reagan held racist views, as did many men of their generation. Nixon was also an anti-Semite, but they did not govern as racists. And they certainly weren't Yahtzees, neither was Gingrich, Buchanan, or any national Republican over the past half-century. But years of racial pandering had created a big tent, enlarged in the name of electoral expediency that offered dark corners for despicable ideologies. Political realignment also made GOP vulnerable to extremism. Democrats became appealing to wealthy suburbanites. Republicans, whose voters were now less educated and more working class, gained among white voters in rural areas and the Rust Belt. Gerrymandering helped turn red districts redder and blue districts bluer. Democrats' more diverse constituents were a built-in tripwire against politicians who cozied up to extremists, while Republican Party candidates, influenced by the rise of talk radio, Fox News, and the Tea Party, were not subjected to serious moderate challengers. Unprincipled and bizarre candidates could now thread a path to victory in ruby red districts. We talk about this shit all the fucking time. People running unopposed, right? Critics of the GOP have long argued that something like the Trump movement and the emergence of a new American Nazism was inevitable. The conservatism, as a belief system, inevitably decays into fascism. Stevens, when he left the party, wrote a book with a bitter title, It Was All a Lie. When I told him how often people quote his title to argue that conservatism itself was a lie, he rolls his eyes. Quote, "We conservatives were right about everything," Stevens told me, especially about the importance of character. I asked the writer, Jeffrey Casserby, who has chronicled the decline of Republican moderates, whether the fall of the GOP was preordained and why conservatism, once a normalizing movement, became so vulnerable to figures without moral character. Quote, I don't happen to believe that conservatism is one of those doctrines that is flawed from the get-go, the writer told him, and certainly not in the American context in which conservatism is a variation on core liberal principles. In that sense, he said, Reaganism, the strongest vehicle of the 20th century American conservatism, didn't lead directly to Trumpism, not least because Trump's vulgar populism is a repudiation of conservatism. But Reagan's dominance of the party may have indirectly set the stage for Trump. The author brought up the Prussian statesman Otto von Bismarck, who created a balance of power system that worked only because it relied on Bismarck's personal influence and political genius. It collapsed without him. There's a little hint there, MAGA, right? Sorry, Danny. Did you request? I wasn't sure. Anyway. Let's see. Bismarck, the movement would collapse without him. Reagan enjoined his party to leave room in the tent for moderates and to avoid ideological litmus tests. But the GOP needed Reagan's personal magnetism to keep his followers from spiraling into hyperpartisanship or even political fratricide. Without Reagan, the Reaganite coalition began to dissolve in the face of Buchanan's angry populism and Gingrich's cold opportunism. The Republican Party as an institution weakened over time until it could be hijacked by an aspiring dictator. Republican leaders who warned against Trump in 2016, senators such as Ted Cruz, Lindsey Graham, Mike Lee, Marco Rubio, etc., soon discarded conservative principles to protect their jobs. Their eager amorality has allowed extreme elements to use the GOP as a vehicle for bigotry and rage. Racism and hate are now structural parts of the Republican Party, replacing consensus, compassion, and compromise. Trump started his second presidency by pardoning the insurrectionists who'd want to unlawfully extend his first. Little wonder that fascists and other miscreants feel welcome. Conservatives will complain that Democratic Party leaders have often tolerated their own extremists. People on the right point to radical professors lionizing Angela Davis, a Communist Party figure who was once on the FBI's most wanted list, or a future president socializing with Bill Ayers, who co-founded a Marxist militant organization and participated in the bombings of the U.S. Capitol and the New York Police Department headquarters. Ayers may have casually socialized with a 30-something Barack Obama, but he did not get an office in the West Wing 15 years later. And no one on the left has shown up to work dressed like a conquering Nazi general swanning through the streets of Smolensk the way that Bovino did in the Midwest. Some Republicans lament these developments and still hold fast to conservative principles and policy ideas, but their party has laid out a welcome mat for an ideology that Americans once had to defeat in combat at the cost of millions of lives. If wannabe Nazis now confidently roam the halls of power and the streets of American cities, it is because Republican leaders have made them feel at home. No notes. So here's where we sit, right? The American experiment, rooted in we the people, rooted in truth to power, rooted in law and order, rooted in the peaceful transfer of power. You know, the American experiment, certainly not perfect. You know, all men were never created equal, and they still aren't to this day. But here we go, right? Here we sit. Yahtzees welcome here. No condemnation from Republican leadership when the young Republicans came out with their pro-Yahtzee rhetoric. No repudiation, no pushback, no immediate removal and separation from the party. People weren't fired. They didn't lose their jobs. Greg Bovino was just moved to a different spot, right? Leftists and people on the left, progressives and such, are criticized for being empathetic. Criticized for being, for caring so much. We're all far from perfect. Nobody is sitting here saying that. But we're not fucking Nazis. We're just not. Now, I know it's going to be easy when you sit there and you're all triggered when you're labeled as such, but stop making the comparisons easy. Just stop. Just stop making the comparisons so fucking easy. I don't want to have to talk about this every single day, but you're goddamn fucking right that I will. Who else is going to do it? If not us, who? If not now, when? Just do it. Call it what it is. If you are a proud member of MAGA, then just say, you know what? Nazism is not a deal breaker for me. Own it. Just fucking own it. Grape apology, not a deal breaker. Seriously. You know, just degrading and demoralizing human beings, not a deal breaker. Just fucking own it. We see it every single day. You can lie all you want to. You can hide behind it. You can sit there and just blame everybody else. But fucking own it, because we see it. Former members of your party, right? Former members of your party are telling you this shit. You've embraced these ideas. You vote alongside people who are tried and true card-carrying fucking Yahtzees. Patriot Front aren't voting for Jasmine Crockett. They aren't. They certainly aren't. You know what else? The Oath Keepers didn't cast a vote for Kamala Harris. The Proud Boys certainly wouldn't vote for AOC, now would they? No. They're voting for people who look like me. System built by people who look like me to benefit people who look like me. More importantly, and what's the worst part of it, to defend and protect people who look like me. You don't want to be equated with Yahtzees? Then stop being a fucking Yahtzee. Is that a dog tail? It is. Hi, buddy. Seriously. It's not a stretch. We look at fucking concentration camps being built across the fucking country. Across the fucking country. A system, a for-profit prison system, expanding beds, building warehouses so we can continue to degrade human beings. If you don't like the comparison to a concentration camp, then don't fucking build concentration camps. If you don't like being told that your rhetoric mirrors fucking Yahtzee sentiment, then maybe don't do it. Don't allow the Department of Labor to use language directly from the fucking Reich. Stop fucking doing it. It's not my problem if you don't fucking like it. I'm going to call the fucking shit out. Who else? If not us, who? You don't fucking like it, then maybe you're the problem. If you don't like being called a Yahtzee, then stop being a fucking Yahtzee. If you don't want to be accused of being a grape apologist, then stop apologizing for fucking grapists. And more importantly, how about you just stop fucking raping women? How about that? It's all men until it's not. It is all fucking men until it's fucking not. And what's worse is those fucking monsters are being put in fucking power every day, and they're being fucking protected. And who's going to stand up? It's people like me. People like the compassionate people, the empathetic people that are in this chat every single day. 202-224-3121. Just want to check in a couple things here. Thank you. I want to thank Julie. Thank you, Julie. Alicia, Grant, Megan. Thank you so much, Megan. Stacy, you guys are very kind. Appreciate you all very, very much. You're helping us march towards our goal. Also, want to thank a few other folks. I want to thank Tiffany, Samantha, David, Kimberly, Julie, Amy, Elaine, Paula, Sarah, Crystal. You guys are incredibly kind. And also I want to thank Nancy and Alicia and Kelly and Chelsea. Thank you guys. We'll update this and we'll have an update on our target tomorrow. I have no expectation that people are going to be as, passionate as I am, but I'm privileged to have this space to do this every single day. And it takes a lot out of me, I got to tell you. But I know one way forward, and that is to push through this fucking shit as hard as we possibly can. I am so tired of people being used as pawns. I'm so tired of just blatant, targeted fucking cruelty. Blatant, targeted fucking cruelty under the guise of protecting people who are committing these fucking crimes. And here we sit. And people are going to get offended because they're on the left and they can't pony up when the time comes to vote blue. You're going to get people on the right saying, "Oh, you guys are part of the cult to vote blue no matter who." You're like, "You're fucking right we are. Damn fucking right we are. Goddamn fucking right." Every single day. Because we want progress. We want society to move forward. Remember the scenario I gave you before about, Peepaw, grandchildren are up in the attic, right? They find the red hat. So similarly, right? Your grandkids are going to find the No Kings protest sign. Or they're going to find a "This is what democracy looks like" poster. Or they're going to see a "Do Something" shirt available in the merch store. See what I did there? And they're going to say, "Wow, I read about the No Kings protest. There was concern back in the 2020s about a dictator. So did you go to these rallies, Peepaw, Meemaw?" Sure did. You know why I went? I went because I wanted to make sure your future was better than mine. How do you want to be remembered? I think we'll wrap there because I'm not feeling so hot. But I appreciate you guys hanging in there with us today. I don't think I'm going to stream it tonight just because I know a lot of other creators are. I would rather consolidate. So you might see me out there providing commentary. If somebody in particular wants to reach out to me, if they are hosting, I know a lot of our friends are, and I don't want to compete with traffic. I'll certainly provide my commentary, and of course we'll report on it tomorrow. But I want you to be prepared because you are going to be lied to tonight. You are absolutely going to be lied to tonight. It's nothing new. It's nothing fucking new. The president's going to sit there and he's going to fucking lie to you. And he's going to degrade people. And he's going to insult people. And he's not going to address the survivors there. He's not. He doesn't give a shit. He doesn't care about them. He doesn't give a shit about any of them. He cares about himself. He'll be bragging about money. He'll be bragging about how the economy is humming. It's the strongest in the fucking world when people are fucking starving and kids are going hungry. And the Republican Party, the pro-life crowd, the fucking Nazis are just like, well, if kids can't work, they can't eat. Who are we going to raid, you guys? Anybody out there that we know of? Oh, yeah. Let's go raid Santana, okay? Tell them that we said hello. I love you, friends. Best mods in the business. You guys are the most impassioned and the most, I could not do what I do without you all. So thank you for being here. Please go raid Santana. We'll see you tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock Eastern time. I might see you on the streets tonight.